Chapter 82. So, had he hit the jackpot? In many cases, primordial black crystal fell from the sky along with meteors, and had a very special texture. It was very difficult for ordinary quality inspection methods to detect this substance. Furthermore, it was very easy for many material merchants to confuse primordial black crystal with ordinary black crystal. Take this stone ghost mask for example. Wang Ling had seen the quality inspection report from the customer service representative, which clearly stated that this stone ghost mask had been made from 75% high-grade black crystal and 25% elastic resin. But even though it was an ordinary mask with no function at all, and the merchant had no idea that it contained primordial black crystal, it still cost 600 HNY. Wang Ling knew that 600 HNY for a stone ghost mask made from primordial black crystal wasn't actually a loss. But considering his monthly allowance of 1000 HNY, it was still a little expensive in the end. Seeing that Wang Ling was still hesitating, the customer service representative sent him a vibrating window. "Fellow cultivator, are you still there?" Wang Ling replied with a question mark. Question mark. "If you think the price isn't right, you can discuss it with us. We can definitely sell it at a lower price." Of course I won't tell you that this mask will bring you bad luck." Wang Ling. "Oh. I dialed the wrong number, sorry. What I wanted to say is that it will bring you good luck." Who the F***K are you trying to fool? Can your acting be any more exaggerated? In the end, Wang Ling threatened the customer service representative with a bad service review, and the customer service representative finally told the truth. "Back then, we bought this stone ghost mask from a mask wholesaler. Our boss liked it very much because of its unique design. But ever since it was put on display in our shop sales have plummeted. Our boss thinks that the shop's business has definitely been cursed by this stone ghost mask." Wang Ling stared at the stone ghost mask for a while. Apart from its unique design, he really didn't notice anything else wrong with it. But he would have to wait until he got his hands on it to know whether there was a problem or not. Actually, Wang Ling was a person who liked to have fun at heart. After all, being invincible was so lonely. Seeing that there was no news from Wang Ling, the customer service representative became anxious again. "Fellow Daoist, the price is negotiable, name your price." Although Wang Ling was dubious about the curse of the stone ghost mask, he felt that it most likely wasn't false when he saw how anxious the customer service agent was to sell the mask. At the very least, he was sure that after the seller had bought the mask from the wholesaler, it had indeed caused a lot of trouble. After careful consideration, he sent a number to the customer service representative. The customer service girl was shocked to see a lone 5 in the chat window. "Fellow Daoist, are you sure? You didn't miss a 0? If it was 50 yuan, the customer service could understand. After all, it was a cursed mask. It was one thing to sell it cheaply. But what the hell? $5. You think you're F***king buying crispy noodle snacks?" The customer service girl waited in front of the chat window for a full 5 minutes. Realizing that this stubborn and stingy customer still had no intention of changing his mind, she suddenly felt a little disheartened. Of course, Wang Ling didn't leave, and just sat there calmly with his arms crossed as he waited for the customer service girl's reply. He had learned this trick from Mother Wang, who had often used it to catch the hawkers off guard when she went shopping or bought groceries. At times like this, it was a competition of patience and mental endurance. After nearly 10 minutes of confrontation, on the other side, the customer service girl finally gave in. "Fine. $5 it is. May I trouble fellow Daoist to confirm the delivery address?" In the end, to the customer service representative's surprise, Wang Ling fell silent again. The customer service girl sent Wang Ling a bawling emoji. "Fellow Daoist, you're not going back on your word, are you?" After a moment of silence, Wang Ling typed 4 words in the chat window. "Remember to include shipping." Include shipping? Not only did it cost $5, it also included shipping. The customer service girl felt like her worldview had been refreshed. What kind of customer was this? Although the customer was God, this was the first time this customer service girl had seen such a stingy God. F***K. What a scam. The customer service girl thought indignantly in her heart. It was close to 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday in the 3rd week of school. Wang Ling felt that he had done a lot today. He had made up for his missing knowledge, completed the homework he had missed, and in passing, destroyed an underground laboratory that had been plotting against him. After buying the mask online just now, Wang Ling felt that he had finally put one more thing off his mind. Now, he just had to wait for that strange stone ghost mask to arrive with shipping from Shunfeng. Days like this were indeed very fulfilling, but they always made Wang Ling feel very tired. On the other side, Father Wang and Lai Mengmeng were still in a small meeting, pitting their wits against each other as they worked out some details of the plot for their new book. On the other side, Mother Wang had also come to the second floor and knocked on Wang Ling's door. "Son, get ready. Change into some handsome clothes. We're going out to a restaurant tonight." Wang Ling. Going out to a restaurant. As far as Wang Ling knew, the Wang family rarely had the habit of going out to a restaurant. It was mostly because of Wang Ling. Father and Mother Wang were very worried that taking Wang Ling out to a restaurant would cause trouble for the restaurant. So the number of times the Wang family went out to eat all year round was comparable to the number of spring and autumn school outings. Generally, it was only on New Year's or Wang Ling's birthday that Father and Mother Wang would spend a lot of money to take Wang Ling out for a good meal. Usually, when they suddenly wanted to go out to a restaurant, Wang Ling knew that it was most likely some relative who had come. As it turned out, Wang Ling's hunch was right. About half an hour later, Wang Ling sensed with his spiritual senses that an old man was pedaling a tricycle toward the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, which had previously been deserted. The old man was a little chubby, and seemed to be struggling to ride the tricycle. He wore an old-fashioned black hat on his head, a black cotton jacket, and a dark blue cotton robe. When he got off the tricycle, he was a little unsteady, and Wang Ling was afraid that he would fall if he wasn't careful. The old man was half-squatting with his hands on his knees. Panting, he thumped his shoulders and loosened his muscles. Then, he slowly went to the back of the tricycle, untied the rope, and finally lifted the white cloth covering it. The tricycle was actually loaded full of apples. Mother Wang had been putting away clothes at the entrance of the villa, but when she saw the chubby figure appear at the door, she hurriedly went up to him. "Oh my Dad! Why did you come here on a tricycle? You should have called me. I'll have Wang Jiao pick you up." Grandfather Wang rubbed his head. "Wang Jiao? Who's Wang Jiao?" "Wang Jiao is your son," Mother Wang sighed in her heart. The old man's dementia came out of nowhere, and it was really getting harder and harder to guard against him. "Oh, right, my son." Grandfather Wang patted his head and pointed to the apples behind him. "Don't I have a grandson called Jinka? Well, I brought this cart of oranges for my grandson. Remember to put them away." Mother Wang. Chapter 83. As soon as old man Wang entered the villa, he went to look for the toilet. He had ridden his little tricycle all the way here, and was really suffocating. The old man was close to 70 years old, but he was still in good health. Apart from his worsening dementia, all his other bodily functions were normal after a formal physical examination at the cultivation hospital. But although they had severe dementia, Father and Mother Wang definitely weren't worried that the old man would lose them, because Wang Ling had blessed the old man's little tricycle with the ability to automatically lead the way. And most importantly, it didn't take the old man any effort to ride it. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the old man to ride all the way here from the suburbs of a neighboring city. Hearing that the old man was here, Father Wang hurriedly finished what he was doing. In the Wang family, apart from Mother Wang and Wang Ling in a rage, the old man was the only person who could inspire awe in Father Wang. Wang Ling remembered that when his grandmother had still been alive, Father Wang had actually been more afraid of her. Unfortunately, she had passed away before Wang Ling was born. It was said that she had a terminal illness. At that time, Father Wang had been heartbroken for a long time. Until Wang Ling was born, Father Wang had constantly fantasized that if Wang Ling had been born a few years earlier, perhaps she wouldn't have died. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in life, and every day was a live broadcast. Old man Wang's dementia had also been diagnosed when Wang Ling's grandmother had passed away. When he was young, old man Wang had been a dissolute person who owed a lot of romantic debts. Among them, his first wife had been the one he loved the most. So Wang Ling's grandmother's passing had been a huge blow to the old man. In the living room, Father Wang lit a cigarette. "Have you made a reservation for tonight's restaurant?" Mother Wang nodded. "We've already made a reservation at Kikata Floor. It was originally going to be at Master Chef's little store, but the owner has been busy recently. And I heard that the price of egg fried rice has gone up again. It used to be 288 yuan, but now it's actually 988 yuan. This is daylight robbery. Wang Ling. Wang Ling knew that there was a place called Master Chef's Little Store that had been very popular recently. With just a bowl of egg-fried rice, this little-known little store had attracted countless heavyweight customers, and food experts from all over the world were scrambling to promote it. Wang Ling felt that this kind of boss was very suspicious. He was either an old senior in the cultivation world or a big shot who had traveled through time. If he wasn't, then it was very likely that he carried some kind of system with him and received the power of the system. The subject of portable systems wasn't new, and Wang Ling knew that Wang Ming had been working on it for the last few years. Currently, he had already invented a number of portable systems and was conducting secret experiments in various locations. Forget it, Kikaro is not bad either. Father Wang glanced at the small tricycle parked in the back garden. Why are there so many apples? Dad brought it. He remembered that Ling Ling liked oranges when he was little, but unfortunately he brought the wrong one. Father Wang covered his face and sighed in his heart. Dad's dementia is really getting worse. And it seemed that his constipation was a little serious. He went into the toilet for a long time and didn't come out. Wang Ling felt very helpless about this. Given his current ability, he could easily wipe out the cancer cells in his body. But he couldn't cure a neurological disease like Alzheimer's. Moreover, old man Wang's dementia was very complicated. It was completely caused by his mental illness. If it was a problem with his body's functions, Wang Ling could directly treat it. When it came to orthopedics, in particular, Wang Ling's treatment methods were superb, and after several years of development, he had already completely surpassed German orthopedics. Not long after, there was the sound of a toilet flushing, and the old man came out unhurriedly. When he came to the living room, the old man grasped Wang Ling's hand and looked at him strangely. Zhao, it's only been a few months since I last saw you. How come you've become so much younger? Did you secretly eat a youth-retaining pill again? There's a preservative in that thing. Father Wang. Dad! I'm your son. Old man Wang was dazed for a moment, then patted his head. Oh, right. You're my son. Then this kid is Jinka. Where's our Ling Ling? Old man Wang was a very mischievous person. When Wang Ling had come in earlier, his dementia had indeed flared up. But now, Wang Ling could tell at a glance that the old man was faking it. This trick could fool Father Wang and Mother Wang, but it couldn't fool Wang Ling. Seeing the look in Wang Ling's eyes, Father and Mother Wang immediately understood. Dad, you're already so old but you still like to joke. Seeing that his trick had been seen through, the old man chuckled. In the end, our Ling Ling is still the best. By the way, what are we going to do tonight? Dad, we're going to a restaurant. We've already made reservations. We've been waiting for you. No, what restaurant? It's expensive. Do we have food at home? Old man Wang asked. Yes. That's good enough. The old man took off his black cloth cap to reveal his big bald head and rolled up his sleeves. None of you move tonight. Let me show you what I can do. Dad, I think you shouldn't waste your energy. What if your dementia flares up again while you're cooking? What does dementia have to do with me cooking? Even if I forget all of you, I won't forget how to cook. The old man said angrily. When it came to cooking, old man Wang was unusually stubborn. That was because before he retired, he had been a chef in a star-rated cultivation hotel for more than 40 years. Even if the old man cooked 3 meals a day for 365 days, as long as he had enough ingredients, there wouldn't be any repetition of the dishes. The old man was an extraordinary person. Back when he had been all-powerful in the culinary world, he had taken in many disciples, big and small. He had followed the theory of happy cooking, which had been taught to him by his Shifu. As for who the Shifu was, even Wang Ling didn't know. Because the old man was suffering from dementia, his memories of the past were a lot messed up, and even a memory search might not be able to find any useful clues. On the other hand, a forced search might worsen the old man's dementia. After all, the target was his own grandfather. Even if Wang Ling was very curious, he wasn't that nosy. None of you moved today. I'm old and my brain isn't working well, but my body is still strong. My good grandson has participated in 4 days of activities. Look how thin he's become. The old man stared at Wang Ling and smiled, then skillfully took off the apron that Mother Wang had hung behind the kitchen door and tied it around his waist. Dad, do you need help? Find me the oil, salt, sauces and whatnot, and help me see what we have in the house. There's spinach and carrots in the fridge, and some pork. I saw bananas on the living room table. We can make a fruit platter later. Back then, my angry bananas were the best. The old man opened the fridge and his eyes lit up. Pig ears? Not bad, braised pig ears in sauce. Chapter 84. After his retirement, Old Man Wong had rented out a piece of farmland and vowed to devote his life to researching new varieties of vegetables for the sake of the common people. Unfortunately, because of Alzheimer's, the results of his research were forgotten again and again. Later, Old Man Wong recognized reality and gave up on his dream of growing some simple fruits and vegetables. Almost every month, he would send some to the Wong family's small villa. When he heard that his good grandson was participating in a neighboring school activity, Grandfather Wong had immediately picked oranges, which Wong Ling had loved to eat as a child, and had immediately come. But in the end, he had still made a mistake while moving the oranges onto the little three-wheeled motorcycle. At dinner, the old man showed off his skills as a star chef for many years. Appetizers: cold old tomatoes, Eliza sweet potatoes. Main course: pure black battle chicken, braised pig ears and soy sauce, honey wax melon soup. Dessert: angry bananas. When the old man announced the list of dishes with a straight face, Wong Ling was basically sure who the old man's Shifu was. Even if it wasn't Mother Wan, there was definitely something going on with her. In the past, when the old man came to the Wong family, he would usually leave early the next morning on his little tricycle. But this time, Father Wong insisted that the old man stay for a few more days at dinner. The reason was very simple. The old man's Alzheimer's had already reached a point where he had to be treated. When the old man was cooking, he had actually forgotten to add salt. This time, even the old man was thoroughly vexed. He had said before that even if he forgot everyone else, he wouldn't forget how to cook. In the end, he hadn't expected that he would kill himself with one mouthful. It was very clear that the old man's Alzheimer's was beyond cure. Last month, Father Wong had actually taken the old man to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor had said that the old man's Alzheimer's was very special and couldn't be treated with medicine alone. Mental illness needed mental medicine to treat it. So this time, Father Wong had Old Man Wong stay, intending to find a skilled psychiatrist to give him a thorough psychological counseling. Then, on Sunday morning the next day, another person came to the Wong family's small villa. Lai Meng Meng. Facing Old Man Wong, Lai Meng Meng took a deep breath, his frail body trembling a little as he gave Father Wong a deep look. Is this the life event you were talking about? Didn't you study psychology at university? You're even a postgraduate student under Professor Jiang, said Father Wong. But I haven't shown it to anyone in a long time. Lai Meng Meng was a little innocent. There were a lot of psychologists on the market now, but most of them were part-time. This was because in the cultivation era, this job not only did not have enough to eat, but it was also a high-risk job. There had been many psychiatrists who were hacked to death by patients who shouted that they were not sick. Thus, after Lai Meng Meng graduated from university, he switched to becoming N. At least this job didn't require him to show his face often. He could earn money just by sitting there like a prostitute. On the side, Mother Wong tried to smooth things over. How about, just forget it. This is too difficult for little Song. Father Wong turned his head away shamelessly. I don't care. Today, you have to watch it, even if you don't want to. Otherwise, I'll stop updating. Stand down. No. Lai Meng Meng was on the verge of tears, his eyes filled with tears. I see. I don't think so. Nowadays, there were plenty of authors who hugged the thighs of S, but this was the first time he had seen someone threaten him with updates and stand down. Lai Meng Meng wanted to cry but had no tears. If this Guru Wong Situ left in anger, he would lose his job. Although Lai Meng Meng had retired from the psychological world for many years, he still had some understanding of the concept of Alzheimer's disease. However, Grandfather Wong's Alzheimer's disease, which was caused by a mental illness, was rather special. After thinking about it, Lai Meng Meng decided to ask a few questions first to determine the extent of Grandfather Wong's dementia. My name is Song Zikai. Grandfather Wong, you can call me Little Song, Lai Meng Meng said as he looked at the old man. The old man didn't know who Lai Meng Meng was, but he knew that this was the psychiatrist Father Wong had hired for him. He was still a little nervous, and his hands couldn't help trembling when he heard someone as soft and cute as Lai Meng Meng speak. "Grandfather Wang, don't be nervous. I'll ask you a simple question." The old man's heart skipped a beat. "That little song. Can I ask you a question first?" Ask away, Grandfather Wang." Lai Meng Meng nodded. "Grandfather Wang, they all say that my Alzheimer's disease is very serious, is that true?" Lai Meng Meng, "I won't know until I ask." "Grandfather Wang, I still have one question." Lai Meng Meng, Grandfather Wang said. "Grandfather Wang, they all say that my Alzheimer's disease is very serious, is that true?" Lai Meng Meng, Father Wang and Mother Wang. Fine. There was no need to ask, this wasn't serious at all. It was King incurable. Upstairs, Wang Ling couldn't help covering his face as he heaved a deep sigh in his heart. He felt that before Grandfather Wang could be cured, Lai Meng Meng might go crazy first. In the end, Father Wang kept Lai Meng Meng there until Grandfather Wang's lunch, which he hadn't added any salt to before he left. Before he left, the old man walked Lai Meng Meng to the door and gripped his hand tightly. "I've really troubled you, Dr. Song." "Don't mention it, old man." During the meal, the old man kept asking the same question over and over again, and Lai Meng Meng still hadn't recovered from it. "How's my dad?" Father Wang pulled Lai Meng Meng aside and asked. "I made some simple notes just now. Grandfather Wang's Alzheimer's disease is more complicated, and there are still some details that I need to confirm with my teacher." Lai Meng Meng's words were very vague. Since graduating from university, apart from sending a group text to Professor Jiang on holidays, it had actually been a very long time since they had seen each other. Who knew if Professor Jiang still remembered him as a student? "Then I'll really have to trouble you," Father Wang said. "If you want to thank me, hurry up and update more." Lai Meng Meng rolled his eyes and said unhappily. The Wang family's small villa seemed to be particularly busy today. As soon as Lai Meng Meng left, a man in a black suit came to the entrance of the villa with a serious expression on his face and a small box in his hands. It was someone from Xiaofan God Express. Wang Ling had sensed the courier's presence from afar, and had been waiting at the door since early on. Seeing that the recipient had arrived, the man immediately presented the package to Wang Ling with both hands and then bowed in salute. "Xiaofan God Express. Mission accomplished. Please give me a 5-star rating, sir." Wang Ling lowered his head and silently signed his name. The man took out a rating device from his suit pocket. "Based on sir's consumer preferences, if you give me a 5-star rating, you will immediately receive 10 packets of Little Raccoon crispy noodle snacks." Chapter 85. Not long after the courier left, a black sedan slowly drove past the entrance of the Wang family's small villa. A man sat in the front passenger seat of the car, holding a single-lens reflex camera in his hand. He quickly took pictures of the Wang family's small villa from multiple angles. Then, he turned on his wristwatch and dialed a number. "Lord, based on our tracking of the Xiaofan God courier today, we finally found the delivery address for the stone ghost mask." "Why did it take so long?" A low voice sounded on the other end of the line, sounding a little dissatisfied. "It's mainly because this family lives too far away. They're the only family in the vicinity of the outskirts of Songhai City." "They're the only family in the vicinity?" "Yes, Lord. I think that even if we sent someone in to take it by force, this is a society ruled by law, understand? The world is so beautiful, why must it be so violent?" The voice chuckled. "Buying a house in the suburbs in this day and age most likely means that their family isn't very well off. Have you investigated this family's background?" "Not yet. But our technicians have already secretly infiltrated the local cultivation police station to investigate their household registration. I'm sure we'll find some clues very soon," the man replied. "How about this? We'll send someone to negotiate with them tomorrow. Don't be so violent when you can solve things with money, understand?" "Your lordship is truly benevolent." "I never thought. We would still be a step too late in the end. If we had been able to buy the stone ghost mask from that shop earlier, there wouldn't have been so much trouble." The voice on the other end of the line couldn't help sighing. "Also, remember to keep an eye on them. The stone ghost mask is very important to us, and it can't fall into the hands of outsiders. It's best to hand it over to us." "My lord, if I may be so bold, I have a question. Is it because you're worried about the stone ghost mask's curse?" That's just one aspect. The voice sounded a little sad. It's true that the stone ghost mask's curse will bring people bad luck. But the truly frightening thing is that the stone ghost mask nurtures the power of the god of darkness, Devil Emperor Gua Pai. If an ordinary person puts on the mask, it's very likely that they'll be forced to sign a contract with it in a short period of time. In the end, they'll enter the form of a super ghost and gain uncontrollable power. According to the information we currently have, the way the stone ghost mask signs a contract is very simple and crude. Once someone puts it on, the two hooks on both sides will pierce their cheeks, thus completing the contract. Isn't that family in danger? The stone ghost mask also has its own requirements for choosing its master. He doesn't have much interest in the old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled. He only loves young bodies. Hearing the castle lord's reply, the man was startled. He remembered that the person who came out to receive the delivery seemed to be a student. The last question, Castle Lord. Then, may I ask, if the stone ghost mask has already signed a contract before tomorrow, what should we do? On the other end of the line, the voice deepened. Then we'll have to kill him before he officially enters his supreme ghost form. And then forcibly take the stone ghost mask away. It was the only way I could think of. Tomorrow, before entering the house, carefully observe the two sides of the family's cheeks to see if there are any stings from the stone ghost mask. I understand. The man nodded solemnly and hung up the phone. It wasn't that Wang Ling didn't have experience with online shopping, and he had long heard of Shun Feng God Express's reputation. This express delivery company, which claimed that each delivery time was less than 24 hours, enjoyed an extremely high reputation in the entire cultivation world. Fast delivery, safety of goods, and the highest level of service were the company's principles. Returning to his small room with the delivery, Wang Ling stared at the 10 packets of crispy noodle snacks on the table, lost in deep thought. No wonder Shun Feng God Express's positive ratings had always been the highest in the industry. Who could resist this kind of temptation? Wang Ling couldn't wait to open the delivery. The inside of the paper box was wrapped in layers of plastic foam, which was not only shock-absorbent but also waterproof. The stone ghost mask, which looked a little old, was wrapped in a plastic envelope and lying quietly in the mold inside the paper box. This cursed stone ghost mask, which had scared the seller so much that he was eager to sell it, looked a little sinister. It was a mask with a horror theme, with a fong at each corner of the mouth and long hooks like claws on the left and right sides of the mask. At first glance, it looked a little like a crab. The eyes were made of synthetic resin and plated with a red film, which was slightly reflective in the light. Wang Ling turned off the lights and realized that the eyes of the mask actually had a fluorescent effect. Observing it up close, Wang Ling could see details that couldn't be captured in online photos. There were some fine cracks on the mask, which definitely weren't caused by wear and tear. Wang Ling's initial guess was that when the mask had been made, the seller hadn't known that it was made of primordial black crystal. It was inevitable that a mask made from a high-grade material with inferior craftsmanship would have some structural cracks after it was finished. Fortunately, the cracks weren't that serious, and were only a little bit. Furthermore, these cracks couldn't be captured in online photos at all, and couldn't be detected without careful observation with the naked eye. After all, this was a mask that cost 5 yuan and included free shipping. When it had been delivered, it had even included 10 packets of crispy noodle snacks. Wang Ling felt that if he gave the seller a bad review for such a small reason, he would be too inhumane. Wang Ling had the habit of reviewing goods after they had been purchased online. After confirming the receipt of the goods and giving the seller a 5-star review, he wrote down his own review. But just as he was writing his review, the customer service girl from New Century Cultivation Mask Shop sent him a private message. It seems that fellow cultivator has successfully received the goods. Thank you for your 5-star review. Wang Ling initially thought that this was probably an automatic reply, but he hadn't expected the customer service girl to send him a second message. Someone called us yesterday and said that the express package might have been lost, which really scared us. Someone called to inquire? Looking at the chat window, Wang Ling was a little dazed. He hadn't called at all. Was this a coincidence, or was someone investigating him? Wang Ling cupped his chin and pondered deeply. However, he didn't ask for too many details. In the worst-case scenario, Wang Ling felt that since someone had been able to check his online shopping records, it was possible that they were monitoring his chat window with the customer service girl. Wang Ling stared at the stone ghost mask and raised his eyebrows. Could it be that he had gotten himself into some kind of trouble? Standing in front of the mirror, Wang Ling put the stone ghost mask on his face and felt it carefully. 3 minutes later, Wang Ling took off the stone ghost mask. After a preliminary appraisal, this mask didn't seem to be F*King useful. But given the seller's legend of the curse, Wang Ling felt that it wasn't a bad idea to keep the mask by his side for observation. "Son, come down for dinner." At that moment, Mother Wang's shout came from downstairs. Wang Ling nodded and casually put the stone ghost mask on the desk. Bang! The door was closed, and the stone ghost mask on the desk suddenly shook, the hooks on both sides shaking uncontrollably. It had been so many years, but this was the first time the stone ghost mask had encountered such a thick-skinned person, F***. Chapter 86. On the morning of May 18th, the 4th week of school, Wang Ling changed into his school uniform. After washing up and tidying up his appearance, he was ready to go out. When he reached the entrance and opened the door, he saw the old man sitting alone in the courtyard of the Wang family's small villa, obediently absorbing the light of the dawn sun like a young sapling crying piteously for food. When one reached old age, the amount of time they spent sleeping would inevitably shorten. Wang Ling had cast a soothing spell on the old man last night, but in the end, he still hadn't been able to suppress the old man's biological clock. Seeing Wang Ling come out, the old man sitting at the door was dazed for a moment before he handed Wang Ling 2 lunchboxes full of food. "These are sweet and sour spare ribs and stir-fried squid with soy sauce." Wang Ling was startled. They were actually normal home-cooked dishes. Wang Ling touched the warm lunchboxes. Although he didn't know if the old man had added salt to the food this time, he still couldn't help feeling moved. Just as he was about to say something, the old man pursed his lips and spoke again. "I've been waiting at the door for a long time, but my grandson hasn't come out. You must be Jinka. Hurry up and bring this food to my grandson." Wang Ling. After 3 whole weeks of school, the atmosphere in the class was clearly a lot better than it had been at the start of the semester. The commissary in charge of studies, Little Peanut, began to collect homework one by one. His real name was Su Xiao. There was someone in class who would deliberately write Su Xiao as Su Xiao on the roster on the blackboard. This was Su Xiao's first nickname after entering the elite class of grade 1, class 3 of number 60 high school. Like his name, Su Xiao was very small. After all, as a boy, he was only 1.64 meters tall, which was quite a pain in the ass just thinking about it. But it had to be said that Su Xiao had a very good personality. He was cute and fair, and not only did the teachers like him, he was also quite popular in class. After the people in the class became familiar with Su Xiao, they gave Su Xiao a cute nickname, Little Peanut. Collecting homework was a technical job. In the first 2 weeks of school, homework would always be collected the fastest, and students would always be quiet and serious in class. But after 2 weeks, all kinds of problems would start to surface. This was the so-called curse of the first 2 weeks of school. Furthermore, even the elite students of number 60 high might not be able to handle this curse. Wang Ling had divided grade 1, class 3 that morning into 4 major parties. First, the calm and composed scholarly tyrant party. He was referring to Lotus Sun, Feather Lin, and Li Xianjing. He completed his homework ahead of time and prepared his lessons in advance. He did not panic at all. Second, the moderate normies. Wang Ling felt that he belonged to this party. Thirdly, only be an idiot. This faction was most commonly seen in normal classes and remedial classes. Although similar situations occasionally occurred in elite classes, it was still very rare. Fourthly, we must wipe out the entire party with extreme haste. The first to bear the brunt of this party's attack were Super Chen and Hero Gua, these 2 fat gaming nerds. Furthermore, the members of this party gave Little Peanut a headache. "You too, I'll give you 5 more minutes at most," Little Peanut said a little helplessly as he stood in front of them. Based on past times, Teacher Pan would arrive in class on time to supervise the morning self-study period in 5 minutes at most. Looking at his wristwatch, Little Peanut estimated Super Chen and Hero Gua's current progress in copying homework, and sighed in his heart. Collecting homework was a technical job, and copying homework was even more so. Looking at the time, Super Chen decided to speed up. He took out another pen from his pencil case and actually started to write with both hands. It's actually the legendary flow of 2 pens. Everyone in class was stupefied. This was a godly skill that had been circulating in school, and was a spell that a mysterious senior sister had developed based on General Yi's flow of 2 pens. The flow of 2 pens spell used both hands to copy at the same time, which greatly increased the speed of copying. But it also had 2 weaknesses. First, the handwriting was always crooked when it wasn't used to. Second, one needed to pay special attention when copying. Little Peanut leaned forward and looked curiously at Super Chen's workbook, and his pupils couldn't help contracting. F***K. This handwriting was too neat and beautiful. This wasn't copying homework at all, it was completely printing. Little Peanut had never expected that there would be an expert in the flow of 2 pens in class. Seeing this, Wang Ling also blushed with shame. It was very obvious that this skill had already been maxed out by Super Chen. It was completely impossible to achieve this level of proficiency without more than 10 years of accumulated cultivation. I never thought that there would be someone by my side who has mastered the flow of 2 pens technique. Master of Dopey narrowed his eyes as he looked at Super Chen. Under everyone's stupefied gazes, Dopey swiftly took out a pen from his pencil case and started to copy the homework. Flow of 2 pens again. Everyone in class was horrified. But now, there were only 3 minutes left. Ding-ling-ling. The bell for the morning self-study period had already rung. Little Peanut looked nervously back outside the classroom. It was as if he could already hear Teacher Pan's footsteps as she walked out of the office and approached the classroom step by step. No, at this rate, it was already too late. In the classroom, the students around him couldn't help shaking their heads. Super Chen concentrated his mental strength and continued to write with both hands as he wrote vigorously. Suddenly he roared, "Now isn't the time to give up." At that moment, Super Chen sped up again. It was as if everyone could hear the sound of Super Chen's hot blood hitting his muscles. The students in class couldn't help their blood boiling. Wang Ling was a little speechless. To be so hot-blooded even when copying homework, there was really no one else like him. With 2 minutes left, Super Chen had already entered the final stage, and his copying speed was almost on par with Master of Dopey Hero Gua's. But at that moment, Super Chen actually took out another pen from his pencil case and held it in his mouth. Instantly, there were countless exclamations in the class. F***K. Flow of 3 pens. The increase in speed from the flow of 3 pens was obvious. But it was very obvious that although Super Chen had mastered this technique, the words he had written with his lip muscles were much less recognizable than before. But the words could still be seen clearly. As the commissary in charge of studies, Little Peanut's jaw had already dropped. On the other side, seeing that Super Chen was already in the final sprint, Master of Dopey actually stopped copying. Had he already given up? Wang Ling narrowed his eyes and propped his head up with one hand as he swept his gaze over the battle between the 2 men in front of him. Master of Dopey smiled devilishly and directly took out 2 pens from his pencil case. Then, he silently stuck them into his nostrils. On this day, all the boys and girls in Grade 1, Class 3 who saw this scene completely knelt on the spot. P.S. I saw a lot of book friends ridiculing Wang Ling's character design. H.M. It was drawn by a friend of mine. Although it might not be satisfactory, and it might lack some details and charm, it's already done its best. Ku Xianjun has already hired a professional cartoonist to customize the official character design of our great god Wang Ling. Please look forward to it. Chapter 87. When the bell officially rang for the morning self-study period, Teacher Pan once again lived up to expectations and arrived at the classroom on time. Little Peanut had already collected the homework and arranged them neatly on the lectern according to their subjects, waiting for Teacher Pan to look over them. Having been a teacher in charge for so many years, Teacher Pan's eyes were like a scanner. She could tell at a glance how much homework had been collected and how many had been collected based on the thickness of the stack, even if it was only 15 exam papers. Sweeping her gaze over the homework on the lectern, Teacher Pan nodded with satisfaction. Very good. I've told the teachers in our office again and again that our class leaders are very responsible children. I'm very relieved to hand over the responsibility of supervising our studies to student Su Xiao. Since the start of the semester, he has collected all the homework on time. I hope that the representatives of each subject can set an example, and will work hard to keep it up. Hearing Teacher Pan praise him like this, Little Peanut lowered his head in shame. As the commissary in charge of studies, it wasn't right to condone students who hadn't finished their homework on time to copy homework early in the morning. But Little Peanut was well aware that society had its own rules of survival, and schools also had their own rules of survival. Just like a student who snitched on a teacher would definitely be hated, Little Peanut felt like he was caught in a dilemma, and his heart was extremely conflicted. Similarly, how could he remind his classmates to finish their homework on time without being hated? This was the path that Little Peanut had been trying his best to explore in his career as a class leader. It could only be said that on this broad road to society, the bricks on the road were like the skin on a person's face. Compared with Master of Dopey and Super Chen, Little Peanut was still lacking in maturity. Even Teacher Pan couldn't have imagined that a minute before she had stepped into the classroom, these two men had still been fighting fiercely on the battlefield of copying homework. But now, with a turn of his head, all of them were sitting there obediently as if nothing had happened. However, the sharp Teacher Pan still seemed to sense something, and she suddenly gave Master of Dopey a strange look. "Student Hero Gua, what's wrong with your nose?" Everyone in class turned their heads to look and saw two streams of dark red blood flowing down Master of Dopey's nostrils. Everyone was well aware of this. It was obvious that this was the after effect of using the flow of 4 pens. The difficulty of this skill was still too high. If one used too much force, it was very easy to puncture the mucous membranes of the nose. Master of Dopey calmly took out a tissue to wipe the blood from his nose, then looked at Teacher Pan with an aggrieved expression. "Teacher, I fell behind in my homework at the Spirit Sword Exchange meet. This is probably an internal injury caused by studying through the night for a few days." Everyone. They had never seen such a shameless person before. The most amazing thing was that Teacher Pan actually believed it. Everyone should learn from student hero Gua. He's a good role model and comrade for our class. Sitting in the back, Wang Ling suddenly sighed in his heart. A tree without its bark will surely die. A man without his face is invincible. The official textbook of talismans had a total of 12 lessons. But it was already the 6th lesson of the Tao Talismans lesson. It was only the 4th week of the semester, and Teacher Pan was already halfway through teaching. This was Teacher Pan's personal, speedy teaching style. At this rate, she would be able to cover an entire textbook by the 8th week of the semester. As for the rest of the time, she would use the tactic of piling on questions to crazily stir-fry cold rice. Teacher Pan felt that this was the best way to consolidate the students' basic knowledge. In the past 4 weeks, Teacher Pan had mainly explained the classification of Tao Talisman's functions, basic usage, basic drawing and combination. The most difficult part of this was the combination in the 4th week, which was to rationally break down and combine runes within a range of many items. From Wang Ling's understanding, this was a little like factorization in mathematics. The most painful part was the usage and calculation of Tao Talismans, which required memorization of many formulas, so writing from memory was the highlight. However, Teacher Pan unexpectedly didn't write from memory during this morning's self-study period. Instead, she used this time to say the following 2 things. Everyone knows about the student exchange meet not long ago. We held it very successfully. The 5 students we sent set a very good example for number 59 high school, and won a hard-won victory for our number 60 high school in the final Spirit Sword exchange meet. When Teacher Pan said this, there was a lot of chatter from the audience. Wang Ling and the others' glorious exploits at number 59 high school had long since spread throughout number 60 high school, especially the live broadcast of the last Spirit Sword exchange meet. Everyone here had seen the live video of it. Everyone here had watched the live broadcast of that final Spirit Sword exchange meet, and it hadn't been hard-won at all, but a complete one-sided victory. Teacher Pan was only saying this to express her modesty. Our number 60 high school has been working hard to become a key city high school for 100 years. Now, we finally have this opportunity to become a candidate for this year's key city high school. Next week, Secretary Da Kong of the Alliance of 10,000 Schools will send a task force to visit our school. I hope that in the next few weeks, students will maintain their learning attitudes and correct their learning ethos. When Teacher Pan said this, most of the people in class already understood. It was clear that they were going to have some tough days ahead of them. This kind of inspection team, which was directly dispatched by the higher-ups of the Education Department, was no less powerful than the Central Inspection Department of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Recently, teachers in other classes have already noticed that some students wake up early in the morning and go to school to copy homework. When Teacher Pan said this, Super Chen and Hero Gua couldn't help shrinking their necks as they inexplicably felt a chill. But I believe that the students of our elite class, especially under the leadership of the class cadre, Would never do such an evil thing. Wang Ling. Little Peanut covered his face with both hands and lowered his head in shame once again. Then, apart from the above, there's another more important issue, Teacher Pan said. It said that one of the leaders from the task force was bitten by a dog when he was a child, and is very afraid of dogs. Wang Ling could almost guess what Teacher Pan was going to say next. So, after some discussion, Headmaster Chen and Director Shi came to me. In order to cooperate with the school's work, during the task force's visit, is there any student who can volunteer to take Loopy Toad home and adopt it for a while? Everyone's expressions froze. What the hell? So, keeping a dog was forbidden. Chapter 88. Wang Ling didn't think this was a good thing. It wouldn't be a big deal if Loopy Toad was just an ordinary family dog, but it was essentially a demon king. Although it wasn't as strong as before, it was still dangerous. Wang Ling could clearly sense that Loopy Toad's aura was a lot stronger after 4 weeks of school. This was enough to prove that Loopy Toad hadn't given up on its toad life, and was still working hard to adapt to its current body. Furthermore, it was trying to cultivate again. Number 60 High School had been calm during the Spirit Sword exchange meet, and Loopy Toad hadn't taken advantage of Wang Ling's absence to cause any mischief. Day after day, it lived its life after being reborn. Learning to be a dog, having its face pinched by the students, and being teased by Dopey the parrot. Loopy Toad was actually very popular at number 60 High School. A green Akita was really eye-catching. It wasn't just in grade 1, class 3. Loopy Toad's reputation was also very resounding in other classes. Every day, students from neighboring classes or even higher grades would bring it food. Dog biscuits, bone sticks with soy sauce, beef and so on. During this period, Loopy Toad learned a lot of things. For example, Loopy Toad was barking more skillfully than before, and even the way it gnawed on a bone with soy sauce was a lot more standard than before. From all aspects, it could be seen that Loopy Toad was doing its best to cast off its previous identity and was trying to integrate into the collective life of number 60 High School, striving to become a reborn dog god. However, being able to gain other people's trust didn't mean it could also gain Wang Ling's. In Wang Ling's view, as a loyal dog, Loopy Toad still lacked some training. No matter who took it home, Wang Ling wouldn't feel at ease. The discussion in class was more heated. Apart from 4 students who said that they couldn't have dogs at home, the remaining 11 students in grade 1, class 3 all expressed a strong desire to have a dog. According to Master of Dopey, they still had to find a professional to raise a dog. Of course, Wang Ling didn't doubt this masochist's professionalism. If Loopy Toad was given to Master of Dopey to raise, Wang Ling would feel more at ease. Because Dopey the parrot wasn't an ordinary bird. This was a bird that could even train its owner. Wang Ling guessed that if Loopy Toad was sent to Hirogua's house, it would probably be great. When it came time to make the final decision, Teacher Pan Shengsong realized that in the end, he had still underestimated Loopy Toad's influence in the students' hearts. Looking at the intense discussion in class, Teacher Pan cleared her throat and said, "How about this, let Loopy Toad choose for itself." After all, Loopy Toad wasn't an ordinary dog, and it was at this point that the value of its intelligence showed itself. Hearing Teacher Pan's words, Loopy Toad stood up excitedly. After being cooped up in school for so long, he finally had the chance to go out and have a look. A world of sensual pleasures, with cute girls with big breasts, and even fatter, houseflies. The flies in number 60 High's area were thin and small. Loopy Toad had long wanted to explore other places. But very quickly, the excitement on Loopy Toad's face was extinguished by Wang Ling's gaze. Loopy Toad had seen this expression before. Almost instantly, it evoked fear in the depths of Loopy Toad's soul. Legend had it that during the assessment at the start of the semester, Wang Ling's murderous gaze. In the end, Loopy Toad came to Wang Ling's feet dejectedly, pressed its ears, and obediently lay down. He did not dare to resist or act rashly. Very tactful. Wang Ling nodded in satisfaction. After school, Wang Ling found a secluded corner and directly teleported back to the Wang family's small villa in the suburbs with Loopy Toad in his arms. Loopy Toad was startled. The hell? What was this? Teleportation? One of the 3,000 great spells, the Great Teleportation Spell? As a reborn Demon King, Loopy Toad still had these basic concepts. The so-called 3,000 great spells were innumerable. All the so-called 3,000 great spells led to Heavenly Tao. It was said in ancient times that among the 3,000 great spells, it took 100 years to comprehend one, 1,000 years to cultivate one, and 10,000 years to complete one. A 16-year-old youngster actually knew the 3,000 great spells. Loopy Toad felt that its 1,000 years of cultivation as a demon king had all gone down the drain. As a toad that had personally experienced Wong Ling's abilities 6 years ago, there was probably no one in the world who was more familiar with how terrifying he was than Loopy Toad. At just 10 years old, Wong Ling had used just one punch to kill Loopy Toad, an all-powerful 1,000-year demon king in the Gate Between Worlds. And 6 years later, Wong Ling had clearly become even more powerful. At this thought, Loopy Toad couldn't help feeling a little sad. As a demon king, its self-esteem had told it countless times that it had to forge ahead, that it had to work hard, that there might still be a chance to salvage its life. But when it faced Wong Ling, Loopy Toad always felt powerless. What was even more frightening was that when Wong Ling held it in his arms, the thought, "Why don't I just submit?" actually flashed through its mind. Loopy Toad covered its face, feeling that its moral integrity as a demon king had already been completely obliterated. When he opened the door, Wong Ling saw two unfamiliar men in suits and sunglasses carrying a suitcase in their hands. Wong Ling glanced at them and used his X-ray vision to see that the suitcase was actually filled with stacks of cash, which amounted to at least 1,000,000 yuan. Standing at the entrance, Father Wong solemnly saw the two men in suits off without a smile on his face. "Take care, I won't see you out." Seeing this scene, Wong Ling knew that the negotiations were probably over. The two men in suits looked at Wong Ling. This is my son," said Father Wong. "Your son looks so much like you." Wong Ling. Hearing this, the corners of Father Wong's mouth twitched violently. "Damn it, not me but you." Wong Ling knew that the men in suits were trying to worm their way into his good graces, and sure enough, one of them held out his hand to Wong Ling. "Hello, handsome, I'm from Landscape Manor." Landscape Manor? Wong Ling thought about it carefully, and suddenly remembered where he had heard this name before. It seemed that it often appeared on TV commercials. It seemed like it sold wine? Wong Ling was holding Loopy Toad and couldn't move his hand at all. Seeing this, the man in suits awkwardly pulled his hand back and said, "It's like this, my Landscape Manor is very interested in the antique mask that Mr. Wong bought not long ago, and would like to buy it again at a high price. Today's negotiations are more or less over, and we come with full sincerity." Speaking of sincerity, the man in suits didn't forget to heft the suitcase in his hand. "I hope Mr. Wong and your esteemed father will consider it carefully. We'll pay you a visit in 2 days. Then the two men took off the shoe covers on their leather shoes, bowed respectfully to Wang Jiao and his son, and turned to leave the Wang family's small villa. Chapter 89. Father Wong knew of Loopy Toad's existence, and also knew that Wong Ling would bring it home to raise. Nowadays, WeChat was very convenient to communicate with everything. At the beginning of the semester, the school had already set up a parents group, and Teacher Pan would send a message to the parents group, no matter how big or small. After Loopy Toad decided to follow Wong Ling home, Teacher Pan immediately sent a message to Father Wong. Furthermore, he repeatedly asked Father Wong if he wanted Wong Ling to bring back some dog food. This made Father Wong a little embarrassed. After all, nowadays, whether it was cat food or dog food, both were probably much more expensive than human food. It was no longer a secret in number 60 High that Wong Ling's family wasn't well off. When Teacher Pan asked Father Wong, she was still planning a home visit in her heart. Although she usually looked a little fierce, a little cold, and didn't look like someone who was easy to get along with, she still felt warm in her heart. Teacher Pan felt that education was one thing, but so was a student's spiritual development. Teacher Pan felt that children from poor families would naturally have a sense of inferiority in their hearts. Combined with Wong Ling's usually taciturn image, Teacher Pan had always felt that he was actually a very self-abased person. So at school, Teacher Pan was very careful not to mention anything about his family in front of Wong Ling, so as not to hurt his self-esteem. In addition, she often urged her students not to compare with others in anything other than academic performance. All in all, Wong Ling felt that Teacher Pan's misunderstanding of him was already so big that even the Huangpu River wouldn't be able to wash it clean. Inferiority complex didn't exist at all. Wong Ling would never forget the first time he had gone to the bathroom with the other boys, and the looks of astonishment on their faces as they stared at his Tower of Babel. In order to avoid making the other boys feel inferior, All these years, Wang Ling had tried his best to only go to the bathroom when there was no one else around. Wang Ling changed into slippers and put Loopy Toad on the ground. In the end, it was as if this guy had been petrified. Without Wang Ling's next order, this Demon King didn't even dare move. Wang Ling kicked Loopy Toad's butt lightly. Only then did Loopy Toad come back to its senses, shake its fur, and obediently lie down at Father Wang's feet. Father Wang had heard Wang Ling talk about Loopy Toad's background, and knew that it had been a Demon King in its previous life. Father Wang had thought that this was a rather unruly existence. He never expected it to be so obedient in front of Wang Ling. From the looks of it, he has trained him well. Father Wang nodded in satisfaction and stroked Loopy Toad's fur. No. 60 High School, students would bring cleansing talismans to clean Loopy Toad's body every few days, so its fur was exceptionally soft to the touch. Father Wang felt that it felt very good to the touch. The only thing that was lacking was that the color of the fur was a little strange. Why is its fur green? Father Wang asked curiously as he stroked Loopy Toad's fur and pinched its little fat face. Wang Ling didn't respond. Because of his occupational disease as a web novelist, Father Wang very quickly started to fill in the blanks. Then, Father Wang couldn't help sighing in his heart. Just from the color of its fur, it wasn't hard to tell that this was definitely a dog with a story. You must have experienced many emotional setbacks, right? It was hard to be a man these days, but it was also hard to be a dog. Wang Ling. At this time, Mother Wang and the old man were still busy in the kitchen. Originally, the old man didn't plan to let anyone help him. But since Lai Mingming's arrival, the old man's psychological defenses had already crumbled a little. In the end, he decided to let Mother Wang help him out. Actually, it was mainly for her to supervise whether or not the salt had been put in. Generally speaking, this time before dinner was when the Wang family's father and son would have a heart-to-heart talk. But this conversation was a little strange. Wang Ling didn't speak the whole time, and directly communicated with Father Wang telepathically. Thus, the whole scene looked a little strange. What Father Wang wanted to talk about this time was mainly about the two men in suits from before. Landscape Manor was a giant corporation comparable to Huaguo Water Curtain Group. Among them, it was famous for its wine business. Almost every TV station had Landscape Manor's wine commercials, which had been on the air for hundreds of years, and could be considered a household name. Wang Ling remembered that when he had still been in the stroller, he had heard these advertising slogans until his ears had gone numb. But the truth was that wine only accounted for 20% of Landscape Manor's total annual profits. As for the remaining 80% of the huge profit, it was brought by the second sideline of the villa, the antique business. Of course, most ordinary people didn't know about Landscape Manor's antiques business. The reason why Father Wang knew about this had to do with his profession. Online writers were a mysterious group. They usually stayed at home and typed their stories, and probably didn't have many offline gatherings. But Father Wang had never missed an online event, and it was through these online events that he got to know a lot of different people. After all, most online writers didn't work full-time. Through these people, Father Wang was able to come into contact with all walks of life and learn about all kinds of interesting news and gossip. Father Wang had heard about Landscape Manor's secondary business from an author who ran an antique shop. Perhaps there was an element of exaggeration in it. But Father Wang felt that 70% of it was credible. Thus, based on the Wang family's motto of keeping a low profile, Father Wang felt that this incident was quite serious. It really wasn't a good thing to be targeted by such a giant corporation. At the very least, it had already affected the Wang family's pace of life. I think you should know how serious this matter is without me telling you. Wang Ling nodded, cupped his chin in thought, and seemed to say something to Father Wang. Very quickly, a doubtful expression appeared on Father Wang's face. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with the mask? Don't tell me you've never made a mistake yourself? Or have you ever thought that ordinary methods can't detect anything special about this mask? Father Wang's question startled Wang Ling. Indeed, Wang Ling had only tried the stone ghost mask on before, and hadn't done any further tests. It was indeed a little arbitrary to say that there was nothing wrong with it. Lying on the ground, Loopy Toad flicked its tail and stared at this miraculous father and son pair. This was probably the quietest father-son exchange in history, and Father Wang's voice was the only one in the room. Looking at the current situation, there's most likely something fishy about this mask. Otherwise, This bunch of people wouldn't be stupid enough to pay 2 million yuan for a mask that costs 5 yuan online, right? Chapter 90. After his discussion with Father Wang, Wang Ling had a profound understanding of the threat posed by Landscape Manor. Such a giant group had actually set its sights on the Wang family. Whether or not Landscape Manor would ultimately get what it wanted, it probably wouldn't end well. At the moment, Wang Ling actually had a very limited grasp of the situation. Although he had learned from Father Wang that Landscape Manor had an antique business as a sideline, he had only scratched the surface. Secondly, there was the rumor that the stone ghost mask was cursed from the cellar. If the rumor was true, then this stone ghost mask should be an existence that people avoided like snakes and scorpions. No one would be stupid enough to spend such a huge sum of money on a cursed mask and invite disaster upon themselves. From this, it could be seen that there was most likely a problem with this mask. But the strangest thing was that Wang Ling actually hadn't noticed it at all. At dinner, Wang Ling ate his rice absent-mindedly as he kept recalling what Father Wang had said to him earlier. "Are you sure there's nothing wrong with the mask? Don't tell me you can't make a mistake yourself? Or have you ever thought that ordinary methods can't detect anything special about this mask?" Father Wang's 3 questions reminded Wang Ling once again. In some sense, Wang Ling felt that his existence was like a cheat in the world, and it could even be said that he was almost omnipotent. But in the end, humans weren't saints, and there would always be some deviations. Wang Ling might be invincible in terms of realm, but when it came to temperament and cultivation experience, he felt that he couldn't compare with those old cultivators who had relied on their own hard work to reach their realms. One had to learn to be humble. This was what Father and Mother Wang had taught him since he was a child. While eating, Wang Ling kept thinking about the stone ghost mask and Landscape Manor, so much so that he looked a little absent-minded. Wang Ling wasn't paying attention, and a ball of rice in his bowl fell onto the table. Mother Wang looked at it, frowned, and said, "Why does Ling Ling look so absent-minded while eating today?" The old man stared at his grandson and said with some heartache, "Is the food not to your taste? Do you want to open a bag of crispy noodle snacks?" The corners of Father Wang's mouth turned up slightly as he smiled. "You two eat, don't mind him. I talked to him earlier, and he's probably thinking about something. At Ling Ling's realm, it's fine even if he doesn't eat every day." Speaking up to this point, he suddenly thought of something. With a smack, he directly put down his bowl and chopsticks and hurried upstairs. Seeing Wang Ling go upstairs, Loopy Toad hurriedly got up from the ground and rushed up after him. The old man looked at Loopy Toad. "This dog isn't bad. Apart from its slightly chubby face, it doesn't have much flab. It looked quite powerful. I just don't know if it's useful or not. Can it scare the bad guys away when you're guarding the door?" The old man remembered that there was a popular breed among young people these days called the God-annoying dog. The old man always felt that it was cheap and festive, and could not scare people at all. This dog was under Ling Ling's control not long ago. It was a demon king in its previous life. Now he's out of trouble. Oh, Demon King. That's great. What a deterrent. And this dog. I feel like it's a little familiar. It reminds me of many things. Dad, you've seen Loopy Toad before? Father and Mother Wang were startled. That's not it. The old man took a sip of the white wine, shook his head and said, "When I was young I just became a chef. I fell in love with a girl. That girl was still teaching, a teacher training major. In the end, she found a boyfriend before I could confess my feelings. Later, I heard that the boyfriend she found was dating 23 other women at the same time." Father and Mother Wang took deep breaths. How could they handle it? The old man sighed. That man was too much of a scumbag. If that girl hadn't been so impatient back then, maybe she would have met me. I wanted to marry her back then, but fortunately, I met your mother. Your mother is very virtuous. Otherwise, I would have wanted to chase after her. If that had been the case, you wouldn't be here. Hearing this, Father Wang wanted to cry but had no tears. Dad, why are you suddenly bringing this up? Usually, when the old man came over, Father and Mother Wang were very careful not to mention Grandma Wang Ling. They didn't even dare say her name. They were afraid that the old man would be sad and suffer from dementia. In the end, the old man had unexpectedly brought it up himself at dinner today, which made Father Wang feel a little strange. Hearing Father Wang's question, the old man paused slightly before saying, It's nothing. I just saw that the dog's fur was pretty green. I suddenly felt that the girl I used to like was also pretty green. Father and Mother Wang. Returning to his room, Wang Ling picked up the stone ghost mask on the table again and carefully examined it. Unlike the previous simple test, Wang Ling opened his heavenly eye this time. If there was something wrong with this stone ghost mask, Wang Ling believed that the heavenly eye's ability to separate the false from the true would expose its true nature. Unfortunately, after staring at it for a long time, the mask still didn't budge. But this time, the heavenly eye's verification told Wang Ling two things. The first was that, judging from the material alone, this was indeed just a very hard mask made of primordial black crystal. The heavenly eye's ability to separate the false from the true was to see through the nature of the real world. If the mask had been tampered with, there was no way he wouldn't be able to tell. But the problem was that this stone ghost mask indeed wasn't as simple as it seemed. After Wang Ling repeatedly confirmed it with the heavenly eye, then there was only one truth that Wang Ling could think of. This stone ghost mask was a twin, and there were two of them in total. One had been circulated outside as a disguise, while the other, which had truly been cursed and had been tampered with, had been secretly hidden somewhere else. Simply put, one was in the light, while the other was in the dark. If it was a twin stone ghost mask, once one had been tampered with, the other would also be cursed. If this was the case, the heavenly eye wouldn't be able to detect any problems. This was a speculation that Wang Ling had come up with while eating just now, and a detail that he hadn't thought of before. So the question now was, where on earth was the other cursed stone ghost mask now? Under normal circumstances, Wang Ling could definitely use the heavenly eye to track down the stone ghost mask's whereabouts. Twin magic treasures weren't uncommon these days. Feather Lin's mother and child swords, for example, could in fact be considered a type of twin magic treasure. Once one sword was lost, Wang Ling could theoretically use the heavenly eye to track down the whereabouts of the other sword. But now, his heavenly eye actually didn't react at all. This was very strange. But this just happened to tell Wang Ling the second thing. Chapter 91. Now that he had the hypothesis, the next step was to verify it further. Even Wang Ling had to admit that his omnipotence was reflected in his abilities. He had a little bit of all kinds of abilities, big and small. But when it came to experience, he was still too young. The cultivation encyclopedias in the library, the cultivation epics of 1,000 years ago, the unsolved mysteries of 10,000 years ago, and so on and so forth. In order to make up for his shortcomings in experience, Wang Ling had already been able to recite them fluently at a very young age. However, most of these works had been passed down by word of mouth and then translated by later generations, so there were many historical facts that couldn't be verified. There were also times when Wang Ling ran into a difficult problem. At that time, he would choose to browse the cultivation forum and ask the seniors who were discussing it. When he was 6 years old, he had registered an account in the cultivation forum in order to find a way to suppress his strength. There were a lot of talented people in the forum, and there was all kinds of cultivation gossip every day. But Wang Ling rarely went online, and spent most of his time lurking. The cultivation forum owner's online ID was Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal, and he was a very mysterious itinerant cultivator who often traveled the world. Wang Ling still had a lot of resentment towards this Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal, because back then, it was this guy who had tricked him into going to the 7-star Special Forces as an advisor. Recently, in order to consolidate his ties with some of the forum's old users, Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal had specially set up a chat group for offline activities. And Wang Ling had been inexplicably and forcibly pulled into the altar owner's cultivation chat group. Wang Ling had initially just wanted to sneak onto the forum, and then anonymously post something to ask about the stone ghost mask. Who knew that as soon as he went online, a chat window would automatically pop up on the screen. User, Ling Zhenren, already online. Wang Ling knew that it was already too late to log off at this time. The chat group very quickly exploded. What the hell? Ling Zhenren? Am I seeing things? Isn't this the 10,000-year lurker king? I'm not seeing things. It's really Ling Zhenren. The legendary big shot is finally online. How exciting. Ha 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 ha. The online reminder function set up by the group owner is really awesome. Even the 10,000-year diving king's spiritual master Wang Ling fell for it. Wang Ling looked at the IDs of these people. There were some he didn't recognize and some he did recognize. Many of them had participated in the rescue operation during the demon rampage 6 years ago. 6 years ago, the female cultivator, Cilian Zhenren, who stuffed herself into the ball-shaped object, was now the administrator of this chat group. But Cilian Zhenren had no idea at all about Wang Ling's specific identity, because in this group, only altar leader grenade-throwing senior immortal had actually seen Wang Ling in person. Furthermore, grenade-throwing senior immortal's understanding of Wang Ling was almost identical to old Li's. They all thought that Wang Ling was just a 1,000-year-old demon who looked very young. Furthermore, he had disguised himself as a student and lived the life of a high school student in order to experience what it was like to travel incognito. After a moment of silence, Wang Ling finally typed, "Is Altar Master there? Immortal Toya. From now on, it's better for Ling Zhenren to call us group leader. Ling Zhenren hasn't been online for a long time. I'm afraid he doesn't know how the forum is doing right now." This Immortal Toya was also one of the older members of the group, and he was an alchemist. In the past, he would often share some gossip about alchemy in the forum, and sometimes he would even live stream alchemy. Every time his furnace blew up, people would rush forward to give him gifts. Cilian Zhenren sent a shrug emoji. "Then let me explain it briefly." Wang Ling sent a question mark. Although it was true that Wang Ling hadn't been on the cultivation forum for a long time, it wasn't to the point where it couldn't continue. Why were all of them frowning? Cilian Zhenren sent a row of sighing emojis. It's not that the forum can't continue to operate right now. On the contrary, it's very famous now. But after it became famous, those ignorant juniors in the cultivation world often post about it. In short, the current atmosphere is very discordant. That's right. Immortal Toya replied. Not long ago, a battle post with the ID Xiao Clan's Xiao Ding Tian appeared on the forum. And he publicly posted on the forum asking to break off his engagement with Nailan Xian. Sending money to Wan Lu, creating a water army, and causing the forum to be in an uproar. It's a foul atmosphere. To be able to say such a shameful thing so openly, I really don't understand young people nowadays. Reading this, Wang Ling basically understood. The cultivation forum had been established for less than 15 years, and had only become popular in the last few years, relying on a large number of high-quality cultivation articles to attract a large number of users. But the problem with the large number of users now was that the quality of the good and the bad was mixed, and the cultivation forum wasn't as harmonious as before. It's just as Immortal Toya said. That's why we asked the forum owner to set up a chat group and pull together all the old users from the forum. The forum is in charge of the forum's operations, and we'll talk among ourselves. To sum it up in one sentence, it would be, close the forum, save your IQ. Cilian Zhenren typed with righteous indignation. So if Ling Zhenren needs anything in the future, just say it directly in the group. Everyone in the group is one of us, said a person with the ID, 9 times in one night. Wang Ling didn't know this person. In fact, there were a lot of people he didn't know. There were 108 old users in the cultivation chat group. Wang Ling only really knew 1/10 of them. Seeing that Wang Ling didn't reply, 9 times in one night sent a fist salute emoji. Greetings, great senior Ling Zhenren. Ling Zhenren can call me 9 times man. I've heard of great senior Ling Zhenren's name before, but I joined the forum 3 years after him. I've learned a lot in the 7 years I've been in the forum. I've always hoped to have a chance to exchange pointers with Ling Zhenren. 9 times man, don't joke around. Great senior Ling Zhenren is an existence that the group owner himself admits is stronger than him. Even if you want to joke around, there should be a limit. Bulang Blade Immortal laughed. I'm serious. How is the sunflower manual I just cultivated funny? 9 times man sent a chart emoji. Wang Ling. After he said this, a person with the ID Lightning Dharmaraja couldn't help lecturing 9 times man. 9 times man. How many times have I told you that the sunflower manual has long been lost? The book you bought online is definitely fake. You want to challenge Ling Zhenren to a duel after cultivating a fake technique? Ling Zhenren can stab you to death with a single strand of his nose hair. Wang Ling. Hearing that the sunflower manual he had purchased was being questioned, 9 times man was unconvinced again. What makes you think it's fake? Lightning Dharmaraja chuckled. Do you dare recite the first sentence of the Heart Sutra? Bulang Blade Immortal. I heard that the first sentence of the Real Sunflower Manual is that if you want to cultivate this technique, you must first castrate yourself. 9 times man you can't really. Is that so? The first sentence of my Sunflower Treasured Manual is. The rims of 9 times man's eyes were already moist. Little Sunflower Mommy's class is starting. Chapter 92. Wang Ling had always thought that the owner of the cultivation forum, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, was a miraculous person. The old members in the group now had 2 impressions of this owner. First, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal traveled outside all year round, so not only was he very knowledgeable, but he also knew all kinds of strange and interesting stories. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal could almost always be found in cultivation gossip. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had told them almost all kinds of cultivation gossip. Whose pill furnace had exploded, whose divine beast had gone missing, whose child had fallen into a cave on a trip and then picked up an ancient divine weapon. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal would always talk about these things after a meal or a cup of tea. Second, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was very fond of courting death. He was a very meddlesome man. Wang Ling had always felt that Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had a very strong aura of the cultivation world. Whether it was a big or small matter, as long as someone had a favor to ask of him, he would help them as long as they paid the appropriate price. In Wang Ling's memory, this was a person who was bursting with a sense of justice. What Wang Ling remembered the most was that Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had once accepted a reward of 1 HNY from a little girl whose entire family had been silenced. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal hadn't hesitated to offend people as he had gone to their door with a knife and slaughtered all the evil forces. Wang Ling had come to Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal this time to ask about the stone ghost mask. If he wanted to know any cultivation secrets, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was the right choice. While the group was chatting animatedly, Cilian Zhenren suddenly said, "It's not easy for Ling Zhenren to come online, but it just so happens that Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal isn't here for a while." Wang Ling's heart shook. Given what he knew of this chatterbox who liked to post whenever he had nothing better to do, even if they had switched to a chat group, it really wasn't normal for him not to post for several days in a row. Could it be that he had run into some kind of trouble? As Wang Ling pondered this, he saw 9 times man's sigh. Group leader indeed hasn't been online for a long time. It's already been 3 or 4 days. Wang Ling was well aware of Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's strength. He was much stronger than old Li, which was why he had the capital to travel around. Furthermore, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had an ancestral magic treasure called Sky Bomb Grenade, which had the effect of a super flashbang that was 500 times more powerful and had a stun effect. Even if Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal wasn't strong enough, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had a way to ensure that he could escape. Any news from the others? Cilian Zhenren asked in the group. She was well aware that if Ling Zhenren showed up, it would definitely be an emergency. But now that group leader Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's whereabouts had been unknown for several days, Cilian Zhenren was a little worried. After thinking for a moment, Immortal Toya replied, "Do you remember Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's last speech?" Bulang Saber Immortal. The true monarch said that his brother's laboratory was suddenly smashed and he lost his memory. He couldn't remember who that person was. So he said he was going to uphold justice, but there has been no news of him until now. Somehow, Wang Ling felt that this sounded a little familiar. Before Wang Ling could digest this, Bulang Blade Immortal added, "It's actually quite awkward. It turns out that Senior Immortal's brother is in the network intelligence business." Hacker? Lightning Dharmaraja asked. Lightning Dharmaraja had always had an unusual interest in people who were involved in online activities. Over the years, Lightning Dharmaraja had relied on his power of thunder and lightning to cure a lot of depraved youngsters who had become addicted to online games, and all of them had been promoted from good-for-nothings to the Foundation establishment stage. It was said that Lightning Dharmaraja had single-handedly electrocuted them. That's right. Bulang Saber Immortal nodded. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's hacker brother seems to be investigating some old senior. Then, he single-handedly smashed up the laboratory. It said that he also destroyed a cannon. I think it was called the Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong Cannon? Wang Ling looked at the chat window, dropped his forehead into his hand, and fell completely silent. Bulang's saber immortal seemed to know a lot about this matter as he chattered on. This cannon is amazing. It said that it was developed by grenade-throwing senior immortal to destroy criminal dens of fake milk powder. Fake milk powder? Speaking up to this point, Xilian Zhenren also remembered something. I heard grenade-throwing senior immortal say before that there's a criminal gang that specializes in peddling fake milk powder. This group uses a kind of milk powder that is said to be able to directly advance to the foundation establishment stage in infancy after drinking it to deceive the masses of ordinary people who have no hope of cultivating. Not long ago, the cultivation police issued a nationwide orange wanted order. The full name of this fake milk powder organization was Holy Cavalry, and its members were all called Holy Milk Powder. Wang Ling had heard a lot of people mention them on his way to school recently. Although their overall strength wasn't strong, what was frightening about them was their milk powder pyramid scheme. It had only been 3 months since they appeared, but their numbers and scale had already surpassed many evil forces that had been established for years or even decades. Apart from Shadow Stream, there had never been any evil force that could make the cultivation police issue a wanted order, which was enough to show how seriously the country viewed this matter. Furthermore, a lot of people believed that if this matter wasn't effectively curbed, it was very likely that the orange wanted order would be upgraded to a red wanted order, just like Shadow Streams. After all, just the number of fake milk powder con people were buying now. If they were to be stacked together, it would be enough to King circle the earth twice. Listening to the chat logs in the group, Wang Ling was lost in deep thought. He admitted that he had indeed been a little rash earlier. That Uncle Black had only received the Zhua family's kindness and was working for them. He actually didn't have any ill intentions. On the other hand, he had recklessly destroyed someone else's laboratory, which gave these criminals a chance to play tricks. Wang Ling sighed in his heart. In the future, he would have to think of a way to compensate grenade-throwing senior immortal and that little black. There was no such thing as an apology. Now that the fake milk powder incident was causing such an uproar, some people in the group naturally started to worry about the safety of grenade-throwing senior immortal, who had already disappeared for a few days. Do you think it's possible that the group leader has been kidnapped by this group of holy milk powder? Nowadays, MLM brainwashing is very powerful. 9 times Man voiced out his speculation. If that's the case, then the situation is very dangerous. Immortal Toya said, I suggest we wait a little longer. If grenade-throwing senior immortal still hasn't come online after 24 hours, let's fight demons and spirits. Xilian Zhenren agreed. Yes. If you have a problem, look for the group owner. If the group owner has a problem, look for the police. There's nothing wrong with it. Just as everyone was discussing this, there was a shake in the group window. Group leader. Grenade-throwing senior immortal was online. F***CK? He's online? Am I seeing this right? 9 times Man sent an emoji of surprise. It's really grenade-throwing senior immortal. Grenade-throwing senior immortal. You haven't been online for the last few days. The group is discussing whether you've been kidnapped by evil forces, said Bulang Blade Immortal. Everyone quietly waited for grenade-throwing senior immortal's reply. A moment later, grenade-throwing senior immortal exploded in the group with a certain vulgarity. F***CK. You don't know. My brother's laboratory was destroyed so badly. That's not the most infuriating thing. The most infuriating thing is that bastard who destroyed the laboratory didn't even let go of the Wi-Fi. There was no signal there to begin with. And no Wi-Fi. F***CK your mother. Chapter 93. Getting up early, cutting off electricity, losing weight, cutting off Wi-Fi. These were known as the 4 major tortures of the modern age, which applied to ordinary people as well as modern cultivators. After grenade-throwing senior immortal returned to the chat group, some troublemakers immediately started to post in the cultivation forum, treating this incident purely as a joke. Shock. The owner of the cultivation chat group, grenade-throwing senior immortal, had reappeared after disappearing for several days, and revealed that the reason for his disappearance was actually because he didn't have Wi-Fi. Living without Wi-Fi made this owner of the cultivation chat group exceptionally angry, and he had already publicly stated in the group that if he caught the guy who had destroyed the lab, he would definitely dismantle that guy's Tower of Babel and pull out the bricks one by one. So after grenade-throwing senior immortal's thunderous roar, Wang Ling quietly went offline. Wang Ling decided to sort out the questions he wanted to ask about the stone ghost mask first, and wait for grenade throwing Senior Immortal to calm down a little before looking for him. Otherwise, given grenade throwing Senior Immortal's current state, Wang Ling felt that if this guy knew the truth, it was very likely that he would directly throw a grenade at the Wang family's small villa. The chess game hidden behind the stone ghost mask was very big, and Wang Ling felt that this matter had to be considered at length. The slightest carelessness could lead to irreparable mistakes. It was around 8 o'clock after dinner when Lai Mengmeng came again. The Wang family had a habit of not closing the door at dinner time, and Lai Mengmeng didn't treat himself as an outsider. He took off his shoes and changed into the flip-flops that Father Wang had specially prepared for him by the door. When Lai Mengmeng entered, Mother Wang was washing the dishes in the kitchen. Father Wang and the old man were leaning against the sofa watching the news broadcast, which was currently broadcasting the hottest topic in Wuxia Nation, One Belt, One Road. The old man was getting on in years, and his ears weren't very good. The TV was very loud, and he completely didn't notice Lai Mengmeng at the door. It was Father Wang who heard some trivial noises, and when he turned his head, he saw Lai Mengmeng. Father Wang gestured at Lai Mengmeng and pointed upstairs. Lai Mengmeng immediately understood and went to the study on the second floor to wait. Father Wang knew that it was most likely Professor Zhang's psychological diagnosis. Grandfather Wang got nervous when he heard this, so Father Wang decided to listen to what Lai Mengmeng had to say first. After Wang Ling closed the chat group, he saw Lai Mengmeng and Father Wang enter the study one after the other and start talking about the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect meant that, generally speaking, people would easily forget things that had already been completed or had results, but they would always remember things that were in the middle or unfinished. This phenomenon was known as the Zeigarnik effect. This topic began with a research report on the psychology of love. This paper was written by Professor Jiang when he was still a student. The title was Why People Can't Forget Their First Love. When Lai Mengmeng entered the study, he kept Father Wang in suspense as he tossed Professor Jiang's paper at him. After Father Wang read it carefully, he was a little confused. What does this mean? What does it have to do with my dad's dementia? Teacher Jiang believes that although a small part of the cause of the old man's illness is due to his age, a large part of it is due to a psychological problem. And this judgment is pretty much the same as what we originally thought, Lai Mengmeng replied. To put it simply, Brother Situ's mother means a lot to the old master, and the old master hopes to grow old with her. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so. That's why he was stimulated. This is a kind of regret for something unfinished, which is what we previously called the Zeigarnik effect. Wang Ling was stupefied as he listened in the study. This really was the first time he realized that Lai Mengmeng seemed to be pretty good at psychological research. He had also heard of Professor Zhang's name before. His full name was Zhang Li. He had the reputation of being the great emperor of the mind, and had students all over the world. In terms of seniority, more than 70% of the counselors in schools could more or less be related to Professor Zhang. When they went out and saw Professor Zhang, they would have to call him Grandmaster. In contrast, Lai Mengmeng was actually a lot more impressive, because he was Professor Zhang's student. He had received guidance from Professor Zhang. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to make a living in the field of psychology, given Lai Mengmeng's talent in psychology, it was very likely that he would become the next Professor Zhang. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for Lai Mengmeng to receive Professor Zhang's reply so quickly. This proved that after so many years, Professor Zhang still hadn't forgotten this student of his. Unfortunately, in this day and age, academic talent alone was useless. One also needed cultivation talent. Not only did Professor Zhang have a deep understanding of psychology, he was also a first-class expert in cultivation, which was why he had such a wide reputation. Wang Ling really felt a little sorry for Lai Mengmeng. Cultivation talent was really a sore point. Furthermore, the legendary foundation establishment elixir that even an ordinary person could instantly reach the foundation establishment stage just by eating one. These things didn't exist at all. Of course, people like Lai Mengmeng weren't the only ones in today's society. Because they didn't have good cultivation talent, they were limited in everything they could do. If they couldn't do what they liked, they could only look for another way out. After all, not everyone was like Wang Ming. Even if he couldn't cultivate, God had still blessed him with the strongest brain that could strike fear into the hearts of the entire country. So, Big Hand, what do you mean? No, no, no. This is just Professor Zhang's opinion. I'm just conveying it on his behalf, Lai Mengmeng said with a serious expression. At this time, the best way is to fight fire with fire. Let the old man complete a relationship in order to make up for this trauma. In psychology, this is called substitution. But this method isn't 100% effective. Father Wang paused, then asked, how do we carry it out specifically? It's very simple. I wonder if the old man has a first love? If the old man can meet his first love at this time, this kind of substitution might work. After making up for this trauma, even if the old man's unique form of dementia can't be completely cured, I think it will at least ease a lot. First, love? Hearing Lai Mengming's words, Father Wang thought for a few seconds, then suddenly remembered the girl who was a little green the old man had mentioned before. I've heard my dad mention a girl before. He said he liked her when he was a chef when he was young, but I don't know if it's true. It has to be. Lai Mengmeng snapped his fingers. If the old man can think of that girl when his dementia flares up at any time, it's enough to prove that he has a deep obsession with her. She must be the old man's first love. Oh. Then what we need to do now is to find this girl who's a little green, and then ask her out to meet the old man. Father Wang said. Lai Mengmeng nodded. That's right. Realization dawned on Father Wang. Then, he looked at Wang Ling's room and made a hand gesture to cheer him on. Go on. Ling Ling. Whether or not Grandpa can be cured depends on you. Chapter 94. After Lai Mengmeng left, Father Wang rummaged through the storage room at home and found a very old-fashioned mahogany chest. This had originally been a funerary object that the old man had prepared in advance for Father Wang, who had planned to bury him with him when he couldn't make it. Father Wang knew that there were a lot of the old man's secrets inside. After the old man had Alzheimer's disease, he had been afraid that he would forget this mahogany chest one day, so he had left it with Father Wang and repeatedly warned him not to open it. But now, in order to cure the old man's Alzheimer's disease, Father Wang really couldn't care less. You are like a drop of rain that moistens my heart. You are like a rainbow that takes away all my eyes. You are like a bright moon that seeps into my heart. You are like a flowing stream that falls into a beautiful waterfall. I am willing to hold hands with you to run, to jump, to be a beautiful upside-down golden hook under the setting sun. I like you. I like your cold attitude. I like your little tricks in the face of me. I like the speed of your speech. I like to go shopping with you to buy clothes. I like your little stupidity. I cross the road hand in hand with you. I don't have to walk too much on the map. The next stop is happiness. In the study, Father Wang read aloud a love letter. The old man had written this on a piece of oil paper when he was young, and his inexperienced handwriting could still be seen between the lines. Father Wang and Wang Ling both trembled in unison, and even Loopy Toad on the side stood on end, F***K. This was a love letter that had been pieced together from an anthology of essays by primary school students and a popular song lyric. Could it really be used as a confession? Loopy Toad doubted the practicality of this love letter. Father Wang pointed at the pile of letters in the chest, which contained all kinds of letters, all of which had been written by the old man. Everyone knew that the old man had been a Casanova when he was young, and that his romantic history was much richer than Father Wang's. Furthermore, the old man was very good at finding the right medicine for each case, and changing the style of his love letter by judging his partner's personality and preferences. Father Wang had flipped through several letters before he had found this fresh and artistic first love letter. In addition, there were graceful and nostalgic types, such as, "You are like the white clouds, and I am like the black soil. Whether you are 71 or I am 75. I will hold your hand and grow old with you. When I am old, I still want to use my old ticket to board your broken ship." There were those who were possessed by a top student, for example, "I will always be the lonely square root number 3. 3 itself is such a wonderful number, but under such an ugly square root number, how I wish I was a 9, because 9 only needs a little bit of calculation to escape this tragic fate. But if this square root is you, I'm willing to become a 2, so that you can never eliminate me." Finally, there was the coquettish and domineering type, for example, "I hope that one day, you can use your gentle hands to teach my round little but a lesson. I hope that you can use your sexy red lips to kiss my fiery biceps." After reading these love letters, Father Wang finally understood why the old man had already sorted out his funerary objects early on, and had sternly told him not to open them. It was obvious how shameful these things were. What the old man hadn't expected was that before his dark history was buried with him, his children and grandchildren would read them one by one. Closing the box, Father Wang took out the love letter from First Love and gave it to Wang Ling. "Is there a way to track down your grandfather's first love?" Wang Ling frowned and was a little hesitant. So far, the people who had come into contact with this letter were himself, Father Wang, the old man, and that slightly green girl. The Great Recall spell of the 3,000 Great Spells could track down the location of the person who had come into contact with the object. But there were two prerequisites. First, the person who had come into contact with the object had to still be alive. Second, Wang Ling had to have seen the person who had come into contact with the object. Putting aside the first prerequisites, the second prerequisites were a big problem. Normally, Wang Ling could use memory search to check the old man's memories to learn what that slightly green girl looked like, and then finally track down her current location. But now, the old man's dementia had worsened his memory disorder. When Wang Ling used the memory search spell, the information he could see was like a snowflake signal on TV. Besides, even if he forcibly searched for clues, after so many years, no one could say for sure how much of that slightly green girl's outline remained in the old man's memories. Conversely, there was a risk that the old man's dementia would worsen. Father Wang put the letter in front of Wang Ling's nose again. "Why don't you smell it? There's an 80% chance that this letter still has that slightly green girl's scent." Wang Ling. "There's a F*** king ready-made dog. Why the F*** are you asking me to smell it?" Afraid that Father Wang would once again dock his allowance, the corners of Wang Ling's mouth twitched, and he forced himself not to argue with Father Wang. Instead, he dodged the letter and handed it to Loopy Toad. Given the current situation, he could only rely on this guy. After all, Loopy Toad had been learning how to be a dog for so long, and Wang Ling felt that it was now necessary to test the results of its learning. When it had still been a toad, Loopy Toad had cultivated its own ventriloquism, which was the purest of its skills. Now that it had become a dog, Loopy Toad had naturally changed its cultivation direction. Everyone knew that a dog's nose was very accurate. As a demon king, Loopy Toad was doing its best to familiarize itself with its current environment. Seeing Wang Ling hand it the letter, Loopy Toad sniffed it carefully. It suddenly thought of something, and somehow felt that the scent on the letter was familiar. Was there a result so soon? How amazing! Seeing Loopy Toad's reaction, Father Wang sighed with emotion from the bottom of his heart. Although Loopy Toad understood human language, its current body was still a hindrance, and it hadn't cultivated to the point where it could speak. It could only pass on the message to Father Wang through Wang Ling's mind-reading ability. When Wang Ling heard Loopy Toad's reply, an astonished expression flitted across his face. Father Wang's eyebrows twitched in disbelief as he looked at Wang Ling. "You mean, Loopy Toad said that it smelled the scent on the letter before in number 60 high school?" Wang Ling nodded. Realization dawned on Father Wang's face, and he instantly clapped his hands together. "Your grandfather did indeed say that the girl graduated from a teacher training course. It's indeed very likely that she's still teaching at school now. But which female teacher is it?" This time, Father Wang's curiosity was completely piqued. His old man's first love was actually a teacher at his son's school? A girl whom the old man had taken a fancy to must have been a beautiful goddess when she was young. Furthermore, Father Wang's imagination had almost immediately filled in the blanks based on that first love letter, and the image of a pure and lovely girl with long flowing hair instantly sprang to life on the paper. Even though she was now old, at the very least she was still attractive. But all this was just Father Wang's speculation. Wang Ling had seen almost all the teachers at number 60 high school, and if anyone was still attractive, Wang Ling felt that old Antique should be one. As for the others, Wang Ling couldn't help trembling, and he didn't dare continue thinking about it. No matter how he thought about it, Wang Ling felt inexplicably flustered. And so, taking advantage of the darkness of the night, Wang Ling teleported Loopy Toad to number 60 high school. Guided by Loopy Toad, Wang Ling arrived at the door of a teacher's office, which was for the elite class. Wang Ling had seen most of them, and there were quite a few female teachers, but if anyone was still attractive, Wang Ling couldn't think of anyone. Then, he teleported inside the office with Loopy Toad. Curled up in Wang Ling's clothes, Loopy Toad arched its nose and sniffed. That was it. Loopy Toad guided Wang Ling to an office desk. After that, Wang Ling felt like he was witnessing the most terrifying story of his life. Chapter 95. Wang Ling used the space sketch spell to draw Teacher Pan's appearance on paper. The last time he had used this spell was when he had asked Zhang Tan to look for Wang Ming. What Wang Ling hadn't expected was that the subject of his drawing this time would actually be his teacher in charge. Father Wang stared at Wang Ling's sketch, pushed up his black-rimmed glasses, and fell into an enigmatic silence. Because the woman in the portrait had lived in an office for a long time, her figure was slightly out of shape. Although it wasn't to the extent of a bucket waist, one could clearly see the swim rings on her belly. Her unconventional ponytail was already mottled with white hair, and the passage of time had added a lot of wrinkles to her face. No matter how much Father Wang thought about it, he couldn't connect Teacher Pan with the image of that young girl in his memory. "Are you sure? Your teacher in charge, Teacher Pan, is that girl who's a little green?" Wang Ling kicked Loopy Toad's dog butt, and Loopy Toad barked aggrievedly. Hiss! Father Wang couldn't help sucking in a cold breath. This was really too ***king shocking. In the middle of the night, Mother Wang was upstairs applying a face mask and the old man had gone to bed early. Father and son of the Wang family looked at Teacher Pan's portrait and leaned against the sofa in the study lifelessly, sighing uncontrollably. The really troublesome thing wasn't that old man Wang's first love was Teacher Pan, but that Wang Ling had to think of a way to arrange for Teacher Pan and the old man to meet. This was the most troublesome part. Because this matter was so shocking, Father Wang wasn't even in the mood to type, and really wanted some peace and quiet. He casually put the portrait down on the table and went upstairs to sleep. After Wang Ling returned to his small bedroom alone, he couldn't sleep all night, because he really couldn't think of a way to bring the old man and Teacher Pan together for a perfect encounter that didn't seem all that abrupt after so many years. Wang Ling felt that this was a real pain in the ass. Early the next morning, when it was already almost dawn, Wang Ling went out. The old man was sitting alone at the door, basking in the sun. This time, the old man had packed Wang Ling's lunchbox with 2 cold dishes. One was black fungus mixed with cucumber, and the other was husband and wife lung slices. Wang Ling was startled again. He felt that these 2 dishes prepared by the old man had a different meaning. When Wang Ling reached out to take the lunchbox, the old man pulled him back. "Ling Ling, I dreamed of your grandmother again." Wang Ling was silent. She became younger and as beautiful as before. The old man smiled blissfully. "On the day she left, I held her in my arms. She told me softly that we would still be husband and wife in our next life." Speaking up to this point, the old man's eyes welled up with tears, but he forced them back as they welled up in his eyes. "She told me in my dream that she wanted to eat the cold dishes I made myself. Ling Ling, please help me cook these 2 dishes for her." Wang Ling. "So this wasn't made for me." Today, every class in school was unusually harmonious because Secretary Da Kong was going to send an inspection team. The phenomenon of copying homework in each class was much more restrained. As soon as Wang Ling stepped into the school building, he saw a young man with a blue cuff tied around his arm walking through the corridors and inspecting each class to see if there were any violations of the rules. Wang Ling had heard of this young man before. His name was Yu Heng, and he was a grade 3 senior at number 60 high school, as well as the current group, clan, leader of number 60 high school's student union's inspection team. People gave him the nickname, Clan Leader Yu. Clan Leader Yu had a characteristic, and that was that he was very experienced and slick. There would always be some violations of the rules in school early in the morning, but as long as he didn't discover them, he naturally wouldn't expose them. He was about to graduate, so there was really no need to offend people. Furthermore, Clan Leader Yu didn't have the habit of repeatedly inspecting each class. Just taking a cursory look at each class was enough. The reason was very simple. As a grade 3 graduate, Clan Leader Yu hadn't even ***king finished his own homework. Where did he get the time to do inspections? But there was nothing he could do about it. A lot of the time, school leaders like to make things up. Actually, Yu Heng didn't believe that there were no cases of students copying homework in key city high schools. Of course, this wasn't to advocate copying homework. As the saying went, everything was reasonable. Clan Leader Yu felt that there were times when students couldn't finish their homework on time, so copying it once or twice was actually understandable. When Wang Ling arrived at the classroom, he saw Clan Leader Yu step into grade 1, Class 3. After sweeping his gaze around lazily, he asked a little tiredly, "Who's your commissary in charge of studies?" Then, Little Peanut stepped forward and raised his hand. "It's me." Little Peanut wasn't tall, and standing in front of Yu Hang, he looked like a primary school student. He lowered his head and blinked. "Senior Yu, don't worry, all the students in our class are very serious. There's absolutely no cases of anyone copying homework." Yu Hang stared at Little Peanut for a while with his dead fish eyes, and with one glance he could tell that this adorably silly junior brother was lying. Specifically, his speech was uncertain, his gaze was erratic, his movements were unnatural. Also, what the hell was this honey blush? But since he indeed hadn't caught anyone copying homework, Yu Hang wasn't so bored as to argue. That's all for today's inspection." After saying that, he didn't forget to pat Little Peanut on the head as he sighed in his heart. This young man has a bright future. Whether it was primary school, middle school or high school, grade 1 was always the most restrained. If you did something wrong, you would be afraid of being caught, and you would be on tenterhooks all day long. As a veteran of number 60 high school for 3 years, clan leader, you could see through Little Peanut's thoughts with one glance. But this was all irrelevant, because he thought that it wouldn't be long before Little Peanut would turn into a wily old fox. When Wang Ling returned to his seat, clan leader Yu was already ready to leave after his swift and decisive inspection. As soon as he stepped out of grade 1, class 3, Master of Dopey started to shout, "Clan leader Yu, don't worry, as outstanding youngsters with upright values, we absolutely won't copy homework." After saying this, Master of Dopey felt that the red scarf hidden in the depths of his heart had become a lot brighter. Little Peanut covered his face in shame. "Classmate Gua, your nose." Master of Dopey rubbed his nose and realized that it was actually bleeding. I must have been too excited. Yes, that must be it. The justice in my heart is telling me that copying homework is a very evil act." Wang Ling stared at Dopey. This guy was definitely using the 4-stroke style to copy homework again. After that, Master of Dopey returned to his seat, but as soon as his butt touched the seat, he shot up as if he had been electrocuted. Wang Ling heard Master of Dopey sigh in his heart. My butt hurts. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have used the 5-stroke style." Chapter 96. It was May 19th, the 4th Tuesday of the semester, and it was time for Old Antique's theory of history class that everyone was familiar with. At the door, a stocky, plump, and slightly rotund fatty walked into the classroom on his tiptoes and appeared on the podium of grade 1, class 3 on time. Old Antique rarely brought textbooks to class, and he had long since memorized the test points in the textbooks. In some sense, Wang Ling felt that it was very difficult to raise the atmosphere of the classroom to a level that everyone could accept and enjoy without textbooks in class. Looking at the entire number 60 high school, Old Antique was a typical teacher who excelled in this area. This sort of textbook-free class was actually a test of a teacher's ability. After a weekend and a Monday, in just 3 short days, Old Antique's outline seemed to have swelled up a lot. It was no longer a secret that Old Antique and number 59 high school's director Xie were in love. As a man in love, Wang Ling knew that Old Antique's style of love was definitely to take director Xie out to eat. Wang Ling felt that it wasn't just Old Antique, even director Xie was definitely a lot fatter than before. A lot of things have happened in the last few days. I wonder if everyone has heard of an organization called Saint Cavalry? When Old Antique said this, there was clearly a lot more discussion in the class. It was very obvious that after the media exposure of this fake milk powder pyramid scheme, it had already garnered widespread attention from all walks of life in a short period of time. Spirit light flashed in Old Antique's hand, and he placed a metal can on the table. "I bought this can of fake milk powder from a Saint milk powder seller. Back then, he strongly recommended me to be his agent." "Teacher, what happened after that?" Feather Lin asked curiously. "After that, I tricked him into buying this can of milk powder without paying a single cent. After listening to my teachings, that Saint milk powder seller decided to turn over a new leaf and turn over a new leaf." When Old Antique said this, a lot of people in the audience laughed, thinking that he was bragging as usual. Only Lotus Sun and Wang Ling's heart staggered. Back then, when Old Antique had said that he could flick a person to death with a piece of chalk, a lot of people had thought he was joking, but in the end, he had really done it. So it was very obvious that this was true. This time, Old Antique was using the incident of the Holy Cavalry peddling fake milk powder as a prelude, which clearly meant something else. After the reruns and evolution of Wuxia's ancient TV dramas, Wuxia's modern history was the highlight of the theory of history class. It was also Old Antique's mandatory test site for the midterm and final exams, and covered a wide range of knowledge. Previously, Old Antique had only used the Holy Cavalry's fake milk powder incident to attract enough interest from the students. When the class quieted down, everyone knew that the movie had begun. Wuxia Nation's modern history starts with the First Guapai War, which was a history of national humiliation full of disasters. When Old Antique came to the definition, he couldn't help sighing. Back then, in order to resist the Guapai army led by Devil Emperor Guapai, Wuxia Nation sacrificed countless seniors in the cultivation world. Perhaps some students will ask what Guapai means. Here, I'll explain a little. The so-called melon skin is actually a kind of drug. In the past, it was usually crushed and made into cigarettes. Once you take a puff, you can't help but take a second puff, and then your IQ will drop lower and lower. Everyone. The most important thing is that once you take the melon skin, you'll become addicted. Everyone. Old Antique smiled. Back then the Guapai army took shape very quickly. It wasn't inferior to the current Holy Cavalry at all. So the country is currently very worried about this Holy Cavalry army, and is afraid that it will repeat the Guapai army's mistakes. Although it has been confirmed that the substances contained in the fake milk powder won't affect the human body, this is a very bad thing. But the impact on the country's economy is a very bad thing. Everyone couldn't help nodding. Those who had prepared for this lesson knew that back when the Guapai army had first risen to prominence, it had relied on pyramid schemes to gather a large number of people in a short period of time. It was just that pyramid schemes back then hadn't immediately attracted Wuxia Nation's attention. By the time Wuxia Nation had reacted, the situation had already gotten out of hand. According to Old Antique's usual way of teaching, he would usually quickly sort out the framework of the lesson before it started. Wuxia Nation's modern history, the First Guapai War, was a major historical event that started with Devil Emperor Guapai peddling the drug melon skin through pyramid schemes. Old Antique had a deep understanding of this period of history, because it was a period of humiliation. Back then, foreigners had jokingly called this period of Wuxia Nation's history the melon-eating era. So to this day, this was a mandatory part of the theory of history exam every year, so that students would remember history and not forget national humiliation. After quickly sorting out the cause of the First Guapai War, it was time for Old Antique to gossip again. This time, Old Antique was gossiping about Devil Emperor Guapai. Students, how much do you know about Devil Emperor Guapai? Old Antique asked as he stood on the dais. After waiting for a while and seeing that the class was dead silent, Old Antique gave his trademark smile. Rumor has it that this Devil Emperor Guapai is very strong. To give you a simple example, General E, one of the 10 founding generals of our Wuxia Nation, once fought Devil Emperor Guapai. When their palms met, Devil Emperor Guapai didn't budge, but General E was forced back 3 steps. There was an uproar in the class. How strong was General E? This was a blade master, the legendary figure who had slain a demon god with General Shur of the Ministry of Defense. But as far as I know, Devil Emperor Guapai was actually seriously injured at the time. He was just holding on. So after the First Guapai War, Devil Emperor Guapai disappeared from the face of the earth, and no one knows his exact whereabouts, Old Antique said. Could he already be dead? Someone asked, and the curiosity of most of the students in the class was piqued. There's a rumor that he's already dead. After the Second Guapai War, Devil Emperor Guapai's Guapai army was handed over to Devil Emperor Guapai's personal disciple, True Immortal Shipai, to manage it. But the strange thing is that so far, no one has ever heard of Devil Emperor Guapai's death. I suspect that this true immortal Shipai might have imprisoned his injured Sherfu and then plotted to usurp his position, Old Antique voiced a speculation. Master of Dopey exclaimed, imprisonment play. What the hell? This Devil Emperor Guapai is a sadist? A master-disciple couple is the most interesting. Featherlin's face was full of excitement as 100,000 words of rotten fiction instantly filled her mind. Of course, there's also a more credible rumor, which is that Devil Emperor Guapai was fleeing from his disciple's pursuit and sealed his soul in a magic weapon. He sealed his own soul in a magic tool, and rumor has it that it's a mask with the power of a curse. Chapter 97. A mask with the power of a curse? Could it be the stone ghost mask? Wang Ling thought it was inconceivable. If there really was a so-called personal grandfather hidden in the stone ghost mask, Wang Ling felt that there was no way he could have overlooked such a crucial detail with his spiritual senses. Now, Wang Ling was more and more convinced of his previous guess. This stone ghost mask was a twin magic treasure. If what old antique said was true, and this devil Emperor Guapai was hiding in a twin stone ghost mask in another world line, then he could indeed remotely control the stone ghost mask in Wang Ling's hand. Wang Ling felt that he was in trouble, and it was a very thorny one. While Wang Ling was still pondering this, old antique had also finished gossiping about devil Emperor Guapai, and started to sort out the relevant points in the Second Guapai War. After the First Guapai War, the original leader of the Guapai army, devil Emperor Guapai, retired, and his disciple, true immortal Shipai, succeeded him and led the Guapai army, which continued to impact the national economy. He also attempted to use melon skins to make the whole nation addicted to them, thereby further disintegrating Wuxia nation's power and taking control of national sovereignty. Of course, in order to stabilize the situation during this period, the nation negotiated many times with true immortal Shipai, the second-generation leader of the Guapai army, and signed a number of unequal treaties. The contents of these treaties are mandatory points, and I'll highlight them for you later. Considering that the contents of these treaties were all the same and there wasn't much to talk about, old antique brought up something interesting. Does anyone know the outcome of the Second Guapai War? There had to be a straight-A student in class who had already prepared for this. After old antique asked the question, Lotus Sun immediately raised her hand and stood up, her beautiful figure instantly attracting the attention of all the boys and girls in class. The Second Guapai War was suppressed by the three founding generals of Wuxia nation, General Yi, General Shi and General Sun, who worked together to capture true immortal Shipai. General Lin ended the war by selling melons from the Tiger Gate, ending the Guapai army's dominance over the national economy in the form of pyramid schemes. It demonstrated the spirit of Wuxia cultivators who rose up to defend the motherland. That's right. Old Antique nodded in satisfaction, then narrowed his eyes. But does anyone know what happened to true immortal Shipai in the end? Suddenly, no one in the class spoke, because the ending of immortal Shipai did not seem to be the key point of the exam. It had never appeared in the textbook of Theory of History class. Wang Ling carefully recalled what he had read about cultivation history, and realized that he had very little memory of immortal Shipai, and most of it was superficial. This only proved one thing. After the end of the Second Guapai War, Wuxia nation, as the victor, had hidden a small part of its history. And the story of immortal Shipai was obviously one of the sealed parts. Everyone looked at the lectern, and saw that there was a trace of craftiness in old Antique's smile. Everyone was shaken once again. It could only be said that old Antique was old Antique after all. Although they didn't know where old Antique had learned about these historical secrets, there was no one in class who dared defy his knowledge of history. He was becoming more and more curious about old Antique's identity. What kind of man was he? Knowing so much and still being able to live until now. Wang Ling felt that this was a king miracle. Back then, after the end of the Second Guapai War, immortal Shipai was sentenced to 10 years of lightning punishment for several crimes, including economic crimes, treason, secession and drug trafficking, and was then executed at Leifeng Pagoda. When old Antique said this, a lot of people in class swallowed nervously and trembled with fright. But as far as I know, just before immortal Shipai was executed, the executioner at the time realized that immortal Shipai was already pregnant. Later, after a meeting with Chief Ho of the National Punishment Bureau, they decided to let immortal Shipai give birth to the child first. After all, the child was innocent. Someone couldn't help asking about the ending of the story. Then what happened next? After that, immortal Shipai revealed the hideouts of the last few high-ranking cadres of the Guapai army who had escaped, in exchange for a chance to make amends. Supposedly, they could have been pardoned of execution and sentenced to life imprisonment. But in the end, immortal Shipai refused. Why? Of course it was because immortal Shipai wanted to fight for some rights for his child. If the world knew that he still had a child alive, he would definitely be looked down upon and criticized. Therefore, before immortal Shipai was executed at the foot of Leifeng Pagoda, He kowtowed 3 times to Director Ho of the National Punishment Bureau, earnestly asking for help in concealing his child's true identity. Everyone was speechless when they heard this. Since Immortal Shipai had already asked the state to keep it a secret, how the F***K did you find out, old antique? Actually, this part of history isn't a secret. The story of Immortal Shipai kowtowing 3 times at the foot of Leifeng Pagoda can be found in university history textbooks. But most of them were just skimmed over. This is not a compulsory test, but as my students, I hope that everyone has a little understanding of history. Old Antique flashed a fierce grin on his face and smiled. After listening to the story just now, I wonder if all of you have understood anything? Little Peanut raised his hand weakly. Teacher, are you trying to say maternal love is great? Not really. Old Antique shook his head. What I want to tell you is that Immortal Shipai is actually a man. However, their physiological structure is not quite the same as that of ordinary people. They are born hermaphrodites. Everyone. Very soon, the theory of history class was over, and Old Antique left amid the cheers of the students, his face radiant with joy. Then, there was a heated discussion in the class about the content of the theory of history class just now. Super Chen's face was bright red. He had been very excited by the lesson just now. When are we going to organize a trip to Leifeng Pagoda? Wang Ling. Were they going to see Bai Suzhen? If Immortal Shipai's child is still alive, he should be about the same age as our grandfathers, right? Lotus Sun said. I don't care about that. I'm more concerned about whether Immortal Shipai's child is also hermaphrodites. Feather Lin's face was full of excitement. This veteran Fujoshi's mind was full of words like hermaphrodites and self-inflicted wounds, which scared Wang Ling a little on the side. Master of Dopey shrugged and also expressed his opinion. Whether or not he's hermaphrodites, most people nowadays are calling for gender equality. Do you know how many types of human genders there are? Master of Dopey chuckled, stretched out his palm, and began to carefully pry. There are 5 types of human genders. Male, bisexual, more female, and female. Hey, don't look at me in such a strange way. This is all the knowledge I've gained by diligently taking remedial lessons outside of class. Master of Dopey waved his hand. Do you know Mo Immortal Castle? Wang Ling was blank. That seemed to be the name of a remedial school, which had been in the limelight in the last 2 years. This is where I take remedial lessons. Learn to sing the theme song within 1 day after entering, and the tuition will be halved. As he said this, Master of Dopey cleared his throat and began to sing. Legend has it that there is a Mo Immortal Castle with an incredible lord. Under his guidance, every Mo Immortal hopes for a better world. Chapter 98. Near the end of school, Dopey walked over to Wang Ling's desk and placed 2 large bags of high-grade dog food on it. The 3 words, Soul Servant Shop, were written on the bags in large letters. They didn't specify the manufacturer, and only the date of production and expiration were marked. Dopey's family had produced this dog food. Wang Ling glanced at the production date and saw that it had been yesterday. It was actually quite common for a pet shop to be entrusted with custom-made food for a sole pet. Wang Ling's conclusion about classmate Dopey Gua was that apart from his studies, this classmate Gua was a loyal and reliable person. I missed Loopy Toad a lot when it wasn't around these 2 days. As Dopey Gua spoke, he didn't forget to push up his glasses. These 2 bags of dog food are custom-made for it. If it's not enough, come find me again. Oh, that's right. The flavor is marked in the bottom left corner of the bag. Hearing Dopey Gua's words, Wang Ling immediately looked over. In the bottom left corner of the white bag were the following words. New Orleans Fly Flavor. When Wang Ling got home, he found Father Wang leaning against the sofa and smoking. It had been a full 24 hours since he had learned the true identity of the old man's first love. It was very obvious that even now, Father Wang still hadn't recovered from such a shocking fact. The most troublesome thing about the whole matter was that the old man had been in a one-sided love at the time. He hadn't been able to find an opportunity or excuse to ask Teacher Pan out at all. The most important thing was that the other party was Wang Ling's teacher in charge. Even Wang Ling felt that this matter was a little impeccable, and he didn't know where to start. Father Wang looked absent-mindedly at the old man and Mother Wang, who were always busy in the kitchen, and heaved a deep sigh. Ling Ling, try to think of a way to deal with Grandpa's matter. Just now, your school sent a message to the parents group chat saying that there will be a parent-teacher conference at 6 o'clock next Monday night. Did you know about this? Wang Ling frowned. He had heard Teacher Pan mention the parent-teacher conference in class before, but he hadn't expected it to start so soon. Next Monday. Was the first dark Monday at number 60 high school coming? Wang Ling murmured in his heart. Growing up, the parent-teacher conference was probably an indispensable part of a child's education. Through face-to-face contact with the teacher, the parents could easily learn from the teacher how to make roasted meat with bamboo shoots taste better. Note 1. Of course, compared with other people, Wang Ling had never been afraid of formality like the parent-teacher conference. First of all, his grades were very unremarkable. According to Father and Mother Wang's requirements, he was always in the middle, so he had almost never received any comments from the teachers at previous parent-teacher conferences. Secondly, even if a teacher criticized Wang Ling, Father and Mother Wang wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Because Wang Ling's education was never to be beaten. Shadow Stream Red Ribbon leader Su Ying was a good example. Finally, there was something else to be said. He could actually count on his fingers the number of times Father and Mother Wang had gone to the parent-teacher conference, and most of the time, they had found someone else to take their place. Sure enough, before Wang Ling could say anything, Father Wang picked up the newspaper from the coffee table, pushed up his glasses and said, "I'm going to start a new book recently, so I'll be pretty busy typing at home. Your Uncle Song is still rushing me for the manuscript. Your mom has to take care of your grandpa, so she probably won't have time to go. So for the parent-teacher conference, just ask your friend to take your place as usual." Wang Ling. It wasn't time for the Wang family's dinner yet, so Wang Ling returned to his bedroom with a headache. As soon as he entered, he saw Loopy Toad lying on the floor with a pen in its paw as it scribbled something crookedly in its diary. Wang Ling realized that ever since Loopy Toad had been forced to turn into a dog from its primordial spirit form, its attitude had changed 180 degrees from its initial resistance to its gradual acceptance of reality. It was very obvious that this guy was already starting to adapt to human life. It was very inconvenient to use a dog paw to hold a pen, even if Loopy Toad used spirit energy to help unblock its meridians and make its paw more nimble. But because of its physiological structure, it still found it extremely strenuous. Loopy Toad had initially wanted to practice writing in its diary, but after some thought, it decided to practice its proficiency with a pen through simple drawing. Loopy Toad had been practicing since the afternoon, and the trash can was full of unfinished manuscripts. Wang Ling looked at the painting that Loopy Toad had painstakingly practiced for several hours before finally completing, and gave his own evaluation. Although the lines were still not smooth and the picture was still as rough as mosaics, Wang Ling could still vaguely tell from the geometric composition of 2 circles and several triangles that Loopy Toad had probably drawn a sparrow. As a dog, and a dog that could draw, this was already very difficult. Wang Ling rubbed Loopy Toad's head and felt that it was a waste of this guy's talent if it didn't perform in a circus. Loopy Toad. This was clearly AF *** King Parrot. That stupid bird Dopey who bullied it every day. Wang Ling. Parrot your sister. She bullies you every day and you still draw her. You really are AF *** King Masochist. One man and one dog stared at this abstract bird drawing for a long time, and Wang Ling felt that there were already no words to describe how F *** King it was. At that moment, Wang Ling felt the electronic wristwatch on his wrist vibrate, and he actually received a text message at this time. There weren't many people who knew Wang Ling's number. Suspiciously, Wang Ling opened the message, which only contained a few short words. "Brother Ling, look for me on QQ." Wang Ling didn't even need to look at the number to know who the message was from just by looking at the title. It was Grenade Throwing Senior Immortal. After Wang Ling logged into QQ, he instantly saw a chat window from Grenade Throwing Senior Immortal. "Brother Ling, I heard from the brothers and sisters in the group that you were looking for me earlier. I'm really sorry. I went out to do something for a little brother of mine. My little brother's lab was destroyed by a bastard, and I was going to talk to you about it. Do you want to stand up for my little brother and drag that bastard out to beat him up?" Wang Ling sent a string of ellipses to prove his existence. Then, he fell into a long silence as he looked at this string of messages. It was obvious that Grenade Throwing Senior Immortal was already used to his brother Ling's taciturn way of expressing himself. "Let's talk about teaching this bastard a lesson at length." So, why are you looking for me, Brother Ling? After a moment of silence, Wang Ling selected an image of the stone ghost mask in the photo gallery and sent it out. Following the image was a string of text that Wang Ling had typed. Have you seen this mask before? Chapter 99. Holy shit! Stone ghost mask? On the other side, when grenade-throwing senior immortal saw the picture Wang Ling had sent, his entire expression changed. His fingers flew as he typed several sighing and frantic emojis in a row. Brother Ling, you're so mean. He actually went to look for this stone ghost mask behind my back. How could he not have called me along for such an interesting matter? Seeing grenade-throwing senior immortal's reply, Wang Ling was instantly reassured. It was very obvious that grenade-throwing senior immortal knew the specific origins of this stone ghost mask. Brother Ling, have you verified what this stone ghost mask is made of? Grenade-throwing senior immortal asked before Wang Ling could ask. Wang Ling's reply was very short. Primordial black crystal. Yes, this must be the stone ghost mask. Grenade-throwing senior immortal was especially excited. The legendary stone ghost mask is made of primordial black crystal. Speaking of which, where did Brother Ling get this stone ghost mask? I bought it online, Wang Ling answered honestly. Grenade-throwing senior immortal was stupefied and couldn't believe this at all. Brother Ling, we've been brothers for so many years, please tell me the truth. Who on earth is this online? Wang Ling replied seriously, Internet. This time, grenade-throwing senior immortal rubbed his eyes to confirm that he hadn't misread Wang Ling's reply. He instantly covered his liver and kidneys with his hands, and felt that he really needed to take 2 bottles of Lu Wei Dihuang pills to replenish himself. What the F***ck did he buy online? Nowadays, online sellers were too powerful. They could even casually buy this kind of banned magic tool online. Grenade-throwing senior immortal was beyond shocked. Brother Ling, do you know how many people are looking for this stone ghost mask now? Then, he took a few minutes to compose his thoughts. Back then, after the rumor that Devil Emperor Guapai had been sealed came out, there was no one who could stop him. All the nascent soul cultivators around the world were using their subordinates to search for the mask. There's a rumor that the successor of the mask will inherit Devil Emperor Guapai's Taoist teachings and supreme Taoist techniques. Although these rumors have yet to be verified, according to my many years of investigation, there's a 70% chance that they're true. This fiend artifact has really caused too many disturbances. Wang Ling typed an ellipsis. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that there was something fishy going on. Leaving aside the fact that the Tao orthodoxy could only be inherited through the great blood origin technique of the 3000 great Das. Even if Devil Emperor Guapai really knew how to use this spell, Wang Ling felt that it was complete nonsense to pass it on to others. There were many conditions to unleash the great blood origin technique. One of the strictest conditions was that one had to find a bloodline compatible with the technique. Only then would one be able to perfectly inherit the technique. It was like a bone marrow transplant in medicine. Wang Ling felt it was utter nonsense to find the perfect match among so many people nowadays. At this point, it was back to the problem of the deep-rooted bad habits of the cultivators. That is, even if he knew that he might not be a match, he still intended to take the risk and try to obtain even greater power in a short period of time. The older generation of cultivators often said that one had to rely on oneself to accumulate cultivation step by step. Wang Ling simply couldn't agree more with this saying. It could be said that Wang Ling was one of the victims of an unstable foundation and an inability to precisely control his strength because of the rapid increase in his realm. Thus, the result of forcefully inheriting a Tao orthodoxy was that the inheritor would go berserk, lose all of his cultivation, and become a cripple. This was a very risky matter, and it was really painful. The state had always strictly prohibited it, as it was harmful to the body and not beneficial at all. Wang Ling just couldn't figure out why there were still stubborn people who were willing to do such a thing. Furthermore, taking 10,000 steps back, Wang Ling even felt that this stone ghost mask wasn't inherited from the Tao at all, and was very likely a trap left behind by Devil Emperor Guapai. In fact, Wang Ling wasn't the only one who thought this way. Grenade-throwing senior immortal also expressed his concern. Back to business. Grenade-throwing senior immortal brought the topic back to Devil Emperor Guapai. Brother Ling, do you know why Devil Emperor Guapai disappeared back then? Hearing grenade-throwing senior immortal's question, Wang Ling was silent for a moment. Old Antique had just gossiped about this matter in theory of history class, and it was still fresh in Wang Ling's mind. Grenade-throwing senior immortal continued. Back then, Devil Emperor Guapai's first true disciple, true immortal Shi Pai, I'm sure Brother Ling knows. In the outside world, most of the rumors said that true immortal Shi Pai had sealed his injured Shifu in order to seize power. But in fact, that wasn't the case. I heard through the grapevine that the master and disciple were very close. Grenade-throwing senior immortal said slowly. Actually, at that time, Devil Emperor Guapai had been researching how to break the Great Devil Sealing Wave. Seeing this text in the chat window, Wang Ling couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Not only had he heard of this spell before, he also knew how to cast it. This was a spell that had been specially developed to deal with people with evil intentions and crooked doctrines, and was also one of the 3,000 great spells. This Great Devil Sealing Wave had always been a thorn in Devil Emperor Guapai's side, so he had always been obsessed with researching a way to break it. After decades of research, it seemed that he had found a way to break the Great Devil Sealing Wave. Thus, he asked his disciple, true immortal Shi Pai, to cast the Great Devil Sealing Wave on himself to confirm the feasibility of breaking it. Wang Ling listened very attentively. And then. There was no and then. Grenade-throwing senior immortal sent a shrug emoji. In the end, Devil Emperor Guapai was sealed in the stone ghost mask just like that. And he never got the chance to come out again. After listening to the whole story, Wang Ling really didn't have the strength to ridicule it. So all these years, I've been running all over the place looking for the stone ghost mask. This thing is a magic weapon, and we have to pay attention to it. If it falls into the hands of someone with evil intentions, it'll definitely be a catastrophe. Although in theory, the stone ghost mask isn't a true magic weapon. Who told this Devil Emperor Guapai to be sealed inside, and now he's like a weapon spirit, Grenade-throwing senior immortal said. Wang Ling. For a Grand Devil Emperor to fall to this level, Wang Ling felt that there really wasn't anyone else in the world who could do this except for Devil Emperor Guapai. Of course, if he had to find someone else with the same Guapai attribute, Wang Ling felt that Loopy Toad, as a Demon King, would definitely be at the top of the list. After listening to Grenade-throwing senior immortal's explanation, most of Wang Ling's doubts about the stone ghost mask had been dispelled. The only thing he still hadn't gotten an explanation for was whether the stone ghost mask was a twin magic weapon. After reading Wang Ling's message, Grenade-throwing senior immortal couldn't help nodding. As expected of Brother Ling. You can even think of twin magic weapons. Actually, I've been a little suspicious for a long time. Think about it, countless people look for the stone ghost mask every year, but no one has ever been able to clearly sense Devil Emperor Guapai's aura. Why is that? If it's Brother Ling's thinking, then everything makes sense. I also think that the stone ghost mask in Brother Ling's hands is just a replica, and the original is definitely hidden. But I still want to see it for myself before I say anything else. By the way, Brother Ling, when should we meet up? Meet up? Wang Ling was going to refuse at first. Chapter 100. Wang Ling rarely took the initiative to make friends, and Grenade-throwing senior immortal could be considered one of the few friends he had made in his 16 years. This was Wang Ling's subjective affection for Grenade-throwing senior immortal. For example, this true monarch had an overflowing sense of justice all year round, as well as a death-seeking spirit of shouting to expel evil spirits at the slightest disagreement, and taking the initiative to find fault with him. There were also some rather mysterious things, such as the immortal fate that cultivators often talked about. Wang Ling had once calculated his and Grenade-throwing senior immortal's immortal fate, and it was actually 70% compatible. This was also one of the main reasons why Wang Ling had acknowledged Grenade-throwing senior immortal. However, even though his immortal affinity was 70%, he still couldn't escape the fate of being tricked by Grenade-throwing senior immortal. As the saying went, good friends were meant to be tricked, and good brothers were meant to be sold. Wang Ling felt that this was absolutely true. 3 years ago, after Grenade-throwing senior immortal had tricked him into becoming Old Li's Taoist spell consultant, Wang Ling had had less contact with Grenade-throwing senior immortal. Who would have thought that because of the stone ghost mask this time, Wang Ling and Grenade-throwing senior immortal would somehow form some kind of connection? Wang Ling felt that this was the legendary immortal chance at work. Or rather, it could be said that it was an ill-fated relationship. After setting a time with grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, the doorbell of the Wang family's villa rang at an inopportune moment. Using his spiritual senses, Wang Ling immediately knew that the two men in sunglasses and suits from Landscape Manor had come again. Moreover, this time, the sincerity that the man in the suit brought was no longer a narrow suitcase, but a huge suitcase that could fit an adult. The two men in suits very consciously changed into shoe covers at the door, then bowed deeply to Father Wang, who had come to open the door. "Hello, Mr. Wang." Father Wang, on the other hand, was deeply shaken by this suitcase in front of him. If it was filled with cash, it would be at least 30 million. After the friendly negotiation with Mr. Wang last time after we returned, the Manor Lord gave us a harsh lesson. Therefore this time, we are even more sincere than before to negotiate with Mr. Wang again. The two men in suits gave professional smiles that were a little fake, and Father Wang couldn't help trembling when he saw them. At the same time, Father Wang also noticed a problem, and that was that the two men in suits this time were armed with swords. The swords dangling from their waists made Father Wang a little concerned. Father Wang glanced in the direction of Wang Ling's bedroom. At a time like this, there was a tacit understanding between father and son, and he was well aware that Wang Ling had definitely noticed them. He wasn't at all worried that these two men in suits would do anything to him. "Senior Immortal," Wang Ling said. Come in." Father Wang made an inviting gesture. Wang to Wang to of Wang of Wang to Wang, and Senior to Wang to Wang, and Senior of comma, to of Senior to of. Seeing that the box was about to be opened, Father Wang hurriedly gave Mother Wang a look and pulled the old man, who was watching TV, upstairs. Old people love to let their imagination run wild, and even Father Wang himself couldn't help getting restless at the sight of these stacks of cash. Thus, Father Wang was very worried that the old man's dementia might be triggered by a heart attack before it could be cured. The two men in suits were also very tactful, and only opened the box after Mother Wang had helped the old man upstairs. When the box was opened, the bundles of 10,000 yuan in cash directly spilled out and scattered all over the floor. Father Wang's eyes couldn't help twitching when he saw the stacks of bright red cash inside. To be honest, apart from Zhao Dahan's private villa in a TV series, this was the first time Father Wang had experienced this much money so directly. "Here is 40 million. The men in suits looked at Father Wang. "Mr. Wang, what do you think of our sincerity this time?" Father Wang pursed his lips. He was actually a little tempted. In any case, it was just a tattered mask to Father Wang, and it didn't matter if he sold it. But Father Wang was also well aware that Wang Ling definitely had his own misgivings about keeping the mask for himself and not selling it. That was something that even his own son Wang Ling was apprehensive about. Father Wang leaned back on the sofa and crossed his legs. He minded his own business as he lit a cigarette and took a deep drag, exhaling smoke directly onto the stack of cash. "This mask is my son's, and he's already resting. I can't make the decision." The two men in suits understood. Father Wang's meaning was already very clear, even though he was using Wang Ling as a shield to tactfully refuse. Although he was using Wang Ling as a shield to tactfully refuse, what he was saying was one thing. He didn't want to sell it. The two men in suits clenched their fists, and one of the taller men suddenly put both hands on the coffee table and looked straight at Father Wang. "Mr. Wang, I hope you will carefully consider this. After all, you're just an ordinary family, and your wife is just a housewife who doesn't have much income. Your father has Alzheimer's disease, and it's hard to guarantee his livelihood. In addition, there's also your son who's only at the foundation establishment stage. Even if you're a popular online writer, you probably won't be able to earn that much money even if you work hard for the rest of your life, right?" The man's words were full of threat. Standing in the bedroom, Wang Ling heard every word clearly. Given Landscape Manor's background, which wasn't any weaker than Huaguo Water Curtain Group, it definitely wouldn't be difficult for them to investigate the Wang family's assets. Regarding this, the Wang father and son pair were already mentally prepared for it. Father Wang pushed up his black-rimmed glasses. "Can I interpret this as coercion? This stone ghost mask is something our master must have, so I hope Mr. Wang can fulfill his wish. I believe that apart from our Landscape Manor, no one else will be able to pay such a high price," the taller man in a suit replied. Then, the man smiled and gripped the hilt of the sword at his waist. "Of course, if Mr. Wang refuses to come to his senses, we don't mind using other methods." The moment the man in a suit gripped the hilt of the sword, Father Wong could already feel spiritual pressure pressing down on his shoulder. But very quickly, this oppressive feeling disappeared, because almost the same instant the man in a suit released his spiritual pressure, Wong Ling in the bedroom also released his aura, which attached itself to Father Wong's body. Then something happened that made the two men in suits sweat profusely. He was clearly just an ordinary middle-aged man at the chi refining stage. But what the two men in suits didn't expect was that the man's aura was rising continuously. An overwhelming spiritual pressure suddenly came back, pressing down on the man in suits like a collapsing building. Oh my God! Then, the two men felt their knees buckle uncontrollably, and they couldn't even stand straight. How was this possible? According to the group's investigation, this Wang Jiao was only at the qi condensation stage. How could he instantly suppress two late golden core cultivators? F***K. Liar. This guy was definitely a nascent soul big shot. The two men in suits felt a sense of oppression from Father Wong that they had never felt before. Father Wong's gaze shot straight out of his black-rimmed glasses like a pair of demonic eyes of death, and it made the two men's legs go soft. Little by little, they sprawled on the ground, and even their black sunglasses directly shattered. 10 seconds later, the taller man in a suit said with difficulty, "Big brother, I was wrong. If you keep staring at me, I'm going to pee." On the other side, the shorter man in a suit wanted to cry but had no tears. F***K. I've already peed, what do I do? Father Wong. Chapter 101. When the two men in suits got up from the ground again, the short man was so ashamed that he simply wanted to dig a hole in the ground, learn how eels drill holes, and crawl into it, never wanting to come out again. A grand late golden core cultivator had actually been scared to piss his pants by spiritual pressure. This spiritual pressure was definitely at the level of AF*** King Commander, right? Ah. They really wanted to die. The two men in suits sighed with emotion in their hearts. Fortunately, Father Wong was a warm-hearted person. Seeing that the short man had been scared to the point of pissing his pants, he hurriedly had Mother Wong dig out a pair of pants that he didn't usually wear and hand it over. "Brother, it's not easy to make a living out here. Be careful what you say and do in the future. This pair of pants is my contribution to you." The two men in suits stared at the thick long johns in Father Wong's hands, their foreheads beaded with sweat, and they were speechless. Before they left, Father Wong even helped them sort out the banknotes that had been scattered on the floor of the Wong family's house. Father Wong found another sack for himself, picked up a bundle of 10,000 yuan bills, and threw them inside. The two men in suits wiped at their sweat. "Mr. Wong, we didn't reach a deal, you can't touch this money." Oh. Father Wong had a cigarette in his mouth, and the lenses of his black-rimmed glasses reflected the villa's lights. He just tilted his head, which somehow gave the two men in suits the feeling that he was a gangster bro. They subconsciously stepped back to keep their distance. They couldn't afford to offend a nascent soul big shot gangster bro. Father Wong ignored them and threw another 4 bundles of money into the sack. "The 50,000 yuan in this sack is for our carpet. You see, you've dirted our carpet, you have to pay for it, don't you?" The men in suits didn't dare speak. Before he could finish speaking, Father Wong threw another 5 bundles of money into the sack. "The 50,000 yuan now is for mental damage and for disinfection. There are a lot of bacteria in human urine, so I've decided to disinfect our small villa after you leave. That's not too much, right?" Then, after some thought, Father Wong threw another 5 bundles of money. The men in suits were anxious. "Mr. Wong, you can't do that. The money you took is all public money. We have to pay for it." Father Wong calmly took a drag on his cigarette and exhaled a stream of smoke on the long johns that the short man in a suit had changed into. "This 50,000 yuan is for the long johns. Isn't that too much?" The two men in suits were almost roaring in their hearts. "Not too much, your sister. 50,000 for a pair of long johns. Even the black market wasn't this shady." If it wasn't for their fear of Father Wong's realm, the two men in suits would have already been unable to suppress the urge in their hearts to fight. But they didn't dare. However, in order to express his protest, the short man in the suit had already taken off his long johns, revealing his Tower of Babel. Obviously, this short man had already decided to give up. "At worst, I'll just run around naked. After all, they were all men." In this wilderness, no one would be able to see them. Seeing this, Father Wong raised his eyebrows, then took out 5 bundles of money from the suitcase and put them in the sack. Mr. Wong, you should wear the long johns. Who knows if they're contaminated with the toxins in your urine? I don't want these long johns anymore. It's no use even if you take them off. By the way, this 50,000 yuan is for my pair of eyes. It's not too much, isn't it? The 2 men in suits didn't dare move at all. They were afraid that their next move would give Father Wong an excuse to demand compensation. Finally, Father Wong looked at the 200,000 in cash in the sack with satisfaction, and escorted the 2 men in suits to the front door. They braced themselves and bowed to Father Wong. The short man in a suit was still wearing long johns, which made the whole scene look a little comical. Mr. Wong will definitely come back again. Crossing his arms, Father Wong leaned against the door. The next time we come, will it still be the 2 of you? The man in a suit broke out in a sweat. That depends. Father Wong stretched out his hand and patted the short man on the shoulder. He shook his head and sighed. Brother, it's not that I want to criticize you, but your Tower of Babel is really too small. It's not even half the size of mine. It's practically a Babylonian enoki mushroom. It's really embarrassing to show it. Next time you come, remember to find a bigger one. The man in a suit. After saying that, Father Wong slammed the door shut with a bang. From a distance in the bedroom, it was as if Wong Ling could hear the sound of the man in the long johns in a suit's soul being pierced by Father Wong's poisonous tongue. In fact, this wasn't the first time that the Wong family father and son had put on a 2-man show like this. In the past, when people had come to the Wong family to cause trouble, they had often used this trick to scare people away, creating the illusion that the owner of the Wong family's desolate little villa had terrifying strength. A long time ago, when grenade-throwing senior immortal had come to the Wong family to visit them, the Wong father and son had used this trick to thoroughly scare him off. Thus, Father and Mother Wong knew of grenade-throwing senior immortal's existence. Furthermore, grenade-throwing senior immortal respected Father and Mother Wong very much. After all, Wong Ling's strength was obvious. In grenade-throwing senior immortal's heart, Wong Ling was already an extremely terrifying 1,000-year-old monster. In grenade-throwing senior immortal's heart, Father Wong was an almighty on the level of a living fossil. Hence, all these years, grenade-throwing senior immortal had always regarded the Wong family's small villa as a holy land. In this little-known little villa in the desolate countryside lived a family of big shots in the cultivation world, who yearned to live an ordinary life. This was grenade-throwing senior immortal's overall understanding of the Wong family. After the 2 men in suits left, they got into a black car driven by the tall man in a suit, and sped off as if they were running away. Not long after they drove off, the short man's wristwatch rang. How did it go? Did you succeed? Apologies, Lord Supervisor, the mission failed. A whole 40 million and you still couldn't take them down? There's no way an ordinary family could resist this kind of temptation. The short man in a suit was about to cry. Lord Supervisor, the problem is, this family isn't ordinary. This Wang Jiao isn't at the qi condensation stage at all. He's been faking it all along. He's a nascent soul big shot. With just one spiritual pressure, we were all knocked down and couldn't move at all. Nascent soul. On the other end of the line, the supervisor was also stunned. Are you sure? How could such an expert appear out of nowhere in an ordinary family who lived in a small villa in the desolate countryside with a clear background? Absolutely. The man in a suit replied. The supervisor sighed in his heart. He didn't think his subordinates would have the guts to lie to him. But looking at the current situation, it was already no longer going to be easy to obtain the stone ghost mask. How about this tomorrow? I'll go there myself. I'll meet this expert. By the way, don't tell me you didn't get anything else this time? The short man in a suit was blank for a moment, then replied weakly, Underwear? Do long johns count? Chapter 102. It was May 20th on Wednesday in the 4th week of school. The atmosphere this morning was a little tense. As usual, Teacher Pan entered the classroom on the dot with a stack of test papers in her hands. The students in the class immediately felt a little despair at this scene. It was very obvious that the morning self-study period and the first and second lessons were going to be an impromptu test. Pop quizzes had always been Teacher Pan's teaching habit over the years. And the most annoying thing was that Teacher Pan would never give them a heads up before the test. It was a complete test of the students' abilities at this stage. As students of number 60 high school's elite class, there was no need for them to cheat in an ordinary impromptu test. However, Teacher Pan's test was very unusual. In the test papers that Teacher Pan had come up with herself, only 20% of the questions in class were in the basic category, while the remaining 80% were evenly divided into 4 categories: strengthening questions, expansion questions, competitive questions, and questions beyond the syllabus. Thus, in this situation, it was time for a battle of wits and courage. For the students of Grade 1, Class 3, this wasn't just an impromptu test, but a battle to test their teamwork. However, Teacher Pan was indeed Teacher Pan. As one of the few pioneers in teaching at number 60 high school, as soon as she entered the classroom, she used a summoning talisman to immediately summon several spirit ghosts, who were distributed in every corner of the classroom to help her invigilate the test. Furthermore, Teacher Pan had meticulously calculated the positions of these spirit ghosts, ensuring that they could see every inch of the classroom from every angle. "I'm going to a morning meeting now, and I'll collect the test papers in an hour and a half." Teacher Pan smiled faintly. "Students, don't worry. These spirit ghosts were all trained by me. If I find any signs of cheating, I'll burn the test papers with hellfire. Everyone only has one set of test papers, so if it's burned, you'll have no choice but to get a 0. I hope everyone will take the test with integrity." After explaining the integrity rules of the test, Teacher Pan turned around, closed the door, and left for a meeting. When Little Peanut handed out the test papers, there were immediately complaints in the class. "These questions are too difficult. They also test the synthesis formula and flame reaction of the Buddha's angry lotus. Isn't this what we'll be teaching next semester?" There was a lot of discussion around him. Although the questions on the paper weren't too difficult for Wang Ling, when the test paper was actually handed to him, he still felt like dying. It would have been fine if it had just been an ordinary test paper, but Teacher Pan's test paper made it impossible for him to estimate the average grade of the class. In this situation, what Wang Ling had to do was wait for Lotus Sun, Little Peanut, Feather Lin and Li Xianjing to more or less finish answering the questions. After estimating the corresponding scores for these 4 top students, he would then take the rest of the class's test papers into account and answer the questions. All he had to do now was hold his pen and wait patiently. 10 minutes had passed since the test papers were handed out, and Grade 1, Class 3 was completely silent. But very quickly, he quietly realized that there was an undercurrent in Grade 1, Class 3, which looked calm on the surface. Although Teacher Pan's in-class test was random, it was obvious that a lot of people had their own predictions for this kind of unexpected situation. No matter what, it was always a good idea to prepare a cheat sheet in advance. Super Chen hid the cheat sheet in his sock. He pretended to scratch his foot and then took it out. But when Super Chen's hand reached his ankle, a ghost spirit accompanied by 2 balls of hellfire floated over. This was bad. A lot of people couldn't help sighing in their hearts when they saw this scene. If he was caught cheating, given Teacher Pan's personality, she would definitely call his parents. Furthermore, she would definitely criticize him heavily at the parent-teacher conference next Monday. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, the tragedy of the hellfire burning the test paper didn't happen. Instead, Super Chin calmly took the cheat sheet out of his sock and held it in his palm. In that instant, Wang Ling could clearly sense an evil aura seeping out from between the ghost spirit's palms. Then, the ghost spirit pinched its nose and left. Everyone! What the hell? This ghost spirit had been scented away. How strong was the smell of this slip of paper? Berry exorcism incense. Wang Ling was a little shaken by this scene. But this wasn't the most frightening thing. Because from the beginning, Wang Ling had realized that a certain fatty had been pulling at his buzz cut, leaving dandruff all over the table. But this dandruff wasn't snow white, but black. Wang Ling took a closer look with his heavenly eye, and was completely petrified. Because Dopey Gua had actually put the cheat sheet on the dandruff. F***K. There was such a thing. Looking at Master of Dopey as he started to piece together the dandruff bit by bit, Wang Ling was utterly shocked. As dusk approached, a man appeared near the Wang family's small villa in the middle of nowhere under the blazing sun. He looked a little out of place. The man was very tall and had a very good figure. His white clothes stuck tightly to the contours of his pecs as the breeze brushed past them. White clothes, a long sword, beautiful hair. This person was none other than grenade-throwing senior immortal, Lei Mao. Father and Mother Wang had long known that grenade-throwing senior immortal was coming. After all, he was one of Wang Ling's few friends in the cultivation world. Coupled with grenade-throwing senior immortal's misunderstanding of the Wang family, Father and Mother Wang had always thought that he was a very interesting person. The last time grenade-throwing senior immortal had come to the Wang family was a few years ago. Yesterday, Wang Ling had suddenly said that grenade-throwing senior immortal was coming to visit today. Mother Wang hurriedly went to the fresh market and bought a lot of groceries. Just as she came back from the market on Wang Ling's consecrated little three-wheeled motorcycle, she saw a man in white standing at the entrance of the villa with big and small bags. Mother Wang was stunned at first, then her gaze roamed over the man for a long time. "Little Lei, is that you?" After not visiting the Wang family for a long time, the man was a little nervous when Mother Wang suddenly called him by name, and he started to talk a little incoherently. "QQQQ, hello, senior." Mother Wang was blank as she thought, this child hasn't been here for a long time, why is he stuttering? However, the word senior allowed Wang Ma to confirm the identity of the visitor. Although Mother Wang wasn't used to hearing him call her that, when she thought of his status in the cultivation world, she treated it as etiquette. Because of Wang Ling, Father and Mother Wang had had the opportunity to come into contact with some big shots in the cultivation world. But in the end, there were very few who called them senior, like grenade-throwing senior immortal. It really wasn't easy to find someone with both strength and etiquette in the cultivation world these days. This was also one of the main reasons why Father and Mother Wang approved of grenade-throwing senior immortal. The man raised the bags in his hands. "This junior hasn't visited the two seniors in a long time. I've brought a few bottles of immortal wine. I hope the two seniors will kindly accept them." Mother Wang took the bags, the redness on her face completely obscured by the red glow of the setting sun. "It's fine if you're here, but there's no need to bring anything. It's so embarrassing." The man rubbed his head and smiled shyly. "Senior, you're too serious. This bit of etiquette is still necessary. Don't be so polite next time. I bought a lot of groceries today and was just waiting for you to eat. Your Uncle Wang and Grandfather Wang are inside, so you three can have a good chat today," said Mother Wang. As soon as she said this, the man was stunned. What the hell? Old Man Wang was also here? Brother Ling's grandfather. Was he going to meet the boss today? Chapter 103. After grenade-throwing senior immortal arrived at the Wang family's house, he obediently followed Father Wang's instructions and sat on the sofa in the living room, not daring to move. At that moment, grenade-throwing senior immortal was still a little nervous. Since Father and Mother Wang were already seniors on the level of living fossils, Grandfather Wang, who had suddenly appeared, in grenade-throwing senior immortal's eyes, this was definitely AF *** King Hidden Boss Great Senior at the level of the God of Creation. "Dad, let me introduce you. This is little Lei, Ling Ling's friend." Ling Ling's friend. Father Wang pulled the old man over and introduced the man in white who was sitting upright on the sofa. "Oh, so it's Ling Ling's friend." The old man nodded. Although the old man had Alzheimer's disease, he was still relatively normal when it didn't flare up. The old man had been a head chef for many years and had cooked for a lot of powerful cultivators, so he could be considered to have met a lot of people of all shapes and sizes. From his appearance alone, the old man could basically guess that this man was from the cultivation world and was very strong. Considering that the other party was from the cultivation world, the old man felt that he had to be careful with his words. Just as he was thinking about how to phrase it, the man in white jumped to his feet and shook the old man's hand excitedly. "Hello, senior. I'm Lei Murin. Lei as in Tian Lei, Mao as in Mao, Mao as in one man. My Taoist name is Grenade-Throwing Senior Immortal. I'm very happy to meet you, senior." Why are you calling me senior?" The old man's first reaction when he heard the man call him senior was a little dazed, but he quickly reacted. Maybe this was the so-called etiquette in the cultivation world. The old man wasn't in the mood to think about it, and hurriedly waved his hand for the man to sit down before he started to chat about family matters. "Little Lei, where do you usually work?" This was just an ordinary question, but it made Lei Murin sink into deep thought. If he directly pointed out that he was the owner of a certain forum, it would be a little degrading. Furthermore, It would be very detrimental to building a relationship with this great senior. Because in the eyes of most people, the owner of this kind of gossip forum was like a water army governor on the internet. It was a pretty unprofessional profession. Therefore, after thinking for a moment, student Lei Murin gave the following answer. I am a website owner. I often receive letters from the masses and help deal with some trifling matters in the cultivation world. Senior can understand it as public welfare. That's pretty good. The old man couldn't help but nod and exclaim in admiration. There aren't many children who dare to think for the masses these days. It's not easy to do charity work, but as long as you follow one principle, you'll definitely succeed. Senior, please guide me. There's a saying, from the masses to the masses. I wonder if you've heard of it? Lei Murin felt that there was something strange about this sentence, but he still heaved a sigh of relief. It looked like he had already passed the first test. On the side, Loopy Toad lay lazily on one side, feeling a little powerless to complain at this scene. What the hell was this déjà vu of a tripartite joint hearing plus a blind date? You're obviously here for Wang Ling, aren't you? After talking about work, the three men chatted happily in the living room. Mother Wang changed into her apron and smiled at the three of them. Ling Ling texted me just now. Teacher Pan delayed the class to explain the exam papers. I might get home a little late. Don't worry, I have a lot of dishes to cook tonight. By the time Ling Ling gets home, we should be able to start eating. The old man also stood up and strode in the direction of the kitchen. It wasn't easy for little Lei to come here today, and he even brought immortal wine. Dad, you have to show off your skills this time, Father Wang said. Of course. The old man waved his hand, took down the white coat hanging on the coat rack, and put it on. On the right arm of the coat, there was a glittering golden word, special, which made the old man look like a master. Lei Murin was stupefied. After watching the old man enter the kitchen, he asked Father Wang in a low voice, If I may ask, Senior Wang, what did great Senior Wang do? A chef, of course. Father Wang's answer was light and airy. Chef. Lei Murin's heart was instantly shaken by this answer. A great senior who was even more of a living fossil than a living one, and had even been a chef before. Combining all these characteristics, grenade-throwing senior immortal almost instantly thought of one person, and that was the legendary demon chef of ice and fire. Holy shit! What kind of valiant legendary big shot was this? Grenade-throwing senior immortal looked at the old man's busy figure in the kitchen and was stunned once again. An hour later the banquet was over. The Wang family's dining table was covered with all kinds of home-cooked dishes, a dazzling array of dazzling and fragrant aromas. Mother Wang took off her apron, looked at the pendulum clock, and frowned. Ling Ling will probably be here for a while. How about you eat first, little Lei? Grenade-throwing senior immortal looked at the dishes on the table, and when he thought that they had most likely been personally made by the legendary demon chef of ice and fire, he didn't dare eat at all. Instead, he did his best to think about the story behind each dish. For example, what was the profound meaning behind the braised pork? What was the meaning behind the stir-fried spinach? What on earth did the pangolin say? In a split second, grenade-throwing senior immortal felt that he had a lot to think about. The truth was that there weren't many rules when eating at the Wang family's house, and they were usually more casual. Little Lei, don't be too restrained. Just feel like you're at home, eat more. Seeing that classmate Lei Murin was a little uneasy, the old man hurriedly picked up a broccoli and put it in Lei Murin's bowl. Overwhelmed by the favor, Lei Murin sprang to his feet. Thank you, great senior. On the side, Father Wang and Mother Wang were startled. They hadn't seen little Lei for a long time, and it seemed that he had become a lot more noisy. He would suddenly become startled, and they didn't know where he had been provoked. The couple stared at classmate Lei Murin. After he sat down again, he picked up his bowl with both hands and started to stare at a broccoli emerald in deep thought, as if he were looking at an exquisite antique. Broccoli? Why did great senior pick up a broccoli for me? What on earth was the profound meaning behind this? Classmate Lei Murin cupped his chin as he pondered. Little Lei, why aren't you eating? Isn't it to your taste? Seeing this, Grandfather Wang hurriedly scooped up another bowl of soup. Sour things can stimulate your appetite. Here, try my tomato egg soup. A bowl of tomato egg soup? Why did Great Senior give me another bowl of tomato egg soup? What on earth was the profound meaning behind this? At that moment, classmate Lei Murin felt very distressed and bewildered. He couldn't help sighing. All these years, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had believed that he had traveled the cultivation world unhindered and solved countless cultivation puzzles. But at that very moment, he was deeply aware that all the comprehension he had worked so hard to cultivate had gone to waste. If he couldn't even figure out this little hint from Great Senior, it looked like his cultivation was completely lacking. Looking at the broccoli and tomato egg soup, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal couldn't help sighing. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.